What's up, fight fans? We are back at it with another edition here at Round One Sports TV. I am always your host, Edwin, and where do all fights start? Round one. So we have a lot to talk about here, and I have a real interesting topic for you. After Gervonta Tank Davis's performance against Lamont Roach, the question was asked: who would win in a fight now? Naoya Inoue or Gervonta Davis if they were to make a super mega fight at 130 pounds. And let's break down the fight between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Tank Davis. So please give the videos a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into this video. So what's up, fight fans? Man, what a situation do we find ourselves in? Social media is right now is lit. All right. And when I mean lit, I'm talking about all they talking about is this performance that Lamont Roach had against Gervonta Tank Davis. A lot was said in this fight. First, before we get into who would win between Naoya Inoue and Gervonta Tank Davis, why don't we just break down exactly what took place in the fight with Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach. Now I want to make some things very clear. What's up, brother? Thank you for joining us. Give me the monster all day and all night. Listen, I hear you, brother. I hear you. Right? I got him too. But let's get there first. All right. See, the reason why I got to break down the Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach situation is to paint you a picture of what could happen shall they meet at 130 pounds. For instance, I want you to understand something. Lamont Roach did not become a superior fighter overnight. That's the same fighter that lost to Jaleel Hatchett. That's the same fighter that went on to fight Shakur Stevenson, Jaleel Hatchett, and lost badly to. The triangle theory doesn't always work. It's not really working in this situation because they don't have anything in combination with Tank. But the point that I'm making is this, that Lamont Roach was Lamont Roach. What happened with Tank Davis, there's a lot to reveal, right? If you just take the time to sort things out. The fact that Calvin Ford didn't train him for this fight says what? A lot of people think that their relationship is straining, right? And that Tank walked by him and, like kind of brushed them off. But I do that to my dad sometimes when I'm tight with him, right? Doesn't mean I don't fuck with my dad. That's kind of what Calvin Ford represents to Tank Davis. He's the closest thing he'll ever have to a dad. And I've seen the pictures. Man, he raised that man since he was that tall. Okay? So I think that their relationship was, I'm more on the line that I don't think that their relationship was strained. I think that when Tank Davis went up against Lamont Roach, it was under Calvin Ford's training. And I think that he wanted a different set of eyes because he knew Lamont Roach was going to be a tough fight for him. See, when you have history, regardless it's in the amateurs or not, how many times did they spar against each other that they haven't revealed? See, because sparring is sacred. And sparring in actuality doesn't mean anything. Because when you're sparring, you're working on things. You got headgear, extra big gloves on. And a lot of people take things out of sparring footage and they try to add it to the equation. I hate when they do that because when people do that and say, oh, my man whooped his ass in sparring, that doesn't mean he can whoop his ass on fight night. Why? because what you're leaving out are all the elements in fight night. The crowd, all the fans yelling, your family in attendance, your girl. Did you have all that in your sparring session? The anticipation of you losing? Or were you just fighting freely in sparring? Because you had a lot of protection on too. Were you working on some things? That's what I mean about sparring. Yeah, you can let two dogs go in sparring. Just let them go. You think those same two dogs, the way they fought in sparring, would fight like that on fight night? When everything's on the line? Of course not. So sparring is sacred. You should never videotape sparring and put it on social media. If you ever did that in my gym, last time I invite you back. I can't trust you. We're working on things. You understand? So, Lamont Roach and Tank Davis has that history, but it might be in sparring. Lamont was giving him a lot of problems, and he was having a lot of fun in there with, and he felt comfortable with Tank. He already knew he could take his power. That's why he was that cocky and that arrogant when he made that bet with Tank Davis. Lamont Roach said, I might not win this fight. He knew. In order to beat Tank Davis in a decision, shit, right? So he said, I'll bet you 250 you don't knock me out, right? And at some point in the fight, just before the famous grease in the eye, I went back, I watched it. Gervonta Tank Davis's braid did flick and snap into his eye. Okay? With the snap by itself and the grease, it could have got him like a little blind. I could see where he didn't look hurt when he went to take that knee. In my live, I asked my co-host, did his glove touch the ground? He said, no, he put a knee. I said, that's a knockdown. That's a knockdown. Then I came on in my other short and I explained to you how fighters, professional boxers, just because they're professional boxers doesn't mean they know all the ins and outs of boxing, of all the rules. Tank was like, I didn't know you were going to start counting if I took the knee. He didn't even know that he couldn't halt the action. His ego of who he is, Tank Davis, told himself, hey, I need to wipe this out of my eye. That's what told him to go get that wiped out of his eye. Tank Davis, neither a referee or an official, he can't halt the action. At no point in time can he hold the eye. It doesn't matter. If you get a knuckle in the eye and you're blind, you got to work through that. People are working through fractured orbital bones. They work through it. Tim Tszyu had all the blood. Did Tim Tszyu hold the action and go run to the corner and say, hey, wipe the blood out of my eye? Or was Tim Tszyu wiping the Tank, try to wipe it off? But even Tank and his persona is so huge, so bigger than life, that he didn't see anything wrong with halting the action and going to the corner and wiping his eye. Now, guess what, homeboy? That's on you. That's a knockdown. That's a knockdown. It didn't, your knee touched the ground, homeboy. Who the hell are you to hold the action? So they didn't score it. The referee, it's up to his discretion. Now, a lot of people said, yo, maybe the referee was in on it. He was bought. You don't got to go that far. You could just merely say that the referee's a fan just by himself. Okay, first of all, he's a referee in boxing. He's got to love the sport. You think that he's not a fan of any boxers? The referee, just to be unbiased, publicly, he'll probably say he's not a fan to anybody. But I'm pretty sure he could be a fan of Gervonta Tank Davis. You don't got to pay him, let him in on anything. He just decided, as a human, to show him courtesy to Gervonta. I think that was totally based up to him. But I think he's a fan of Gervonta Tank Davis. I'm not going to go as far as saying somebody slipped him a novella envelope. No, I don't think we're beyond those days. Those days are over. Like, you'd be wasting your money. If you slip that referee a vanilla envelope with Tank Davis' reputation knocking people out, what the fuck are you going to need him for? You just gave him free money. I don't think anybody was anticipating this because I don't think anybody saw this. So I don't think that down the line of buying a referee, for what? Lamont Roach was a 20-1 underdog from Las Vegas lines coming into that fight. He was supposed to get knocked out. And that's exactly what I mean. Lamont Roach didn't turn into an elite fighter overnight. He didn't all of a sudden miraculously. It's now they're already talking him up with Shakur Stevenson. Stop it. Lamont Roach, from me to you, go back to 130. Lamont Roach is not considered a big puncher at 130 pounds. He's not a knockout artist at a 130. And all of a sudden, he comes up and staggers Gervonta Tank Davis. What you saw was technique. That's what you saw. And what you also saw was a lack of technique and discipline to defense by Gervonta Tank Davis. Gervonta Tank Davis started to say it in his own words. And he stopped himself. He knows exactly what he did. See, Gervonta Tank Davis thinks you're not supposed to hit him back in the ring now. Don't you know who I am? I'm Gervonta Tank Davis. And Lamont Roach wasn't intimidated of the star that Gervonta was. As you can see, he wasn't going to let Gervonta bully him or anything. When Gervonta started fighting dirty, he fought dirty. Lamont Roach was bringing it to him. And that's all you saw. All you saw was Tank Davis trying to look for the knockout and using that one stabbing 1-2, and he didn't change. He tried to put the pressure. He saw that one way of winning a fight for him was a success, and he's kind of in his head with all the training they trained him. Tank wasn't doing anything they wanted him to do. Even with the new trainer, he was frustrated at Tank. Everybody was. Because that's probably what they didn't work on in the camp. And that's due in part to Tank trying to take over. No, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing. Type shit. So, this really exposes a lot about Tank, man. Unfortunately. You know, people can say, what, a fighter's not entitled to a bad night in the office? No, he would be entitled to a bad night at the office, of course, right? But that's not what happened here. That's not what happened in this situation. In this situation, what happened was you brought a man up from 130 pounds. You were a 20-1 favorite to win in this fight. You didn't have a bad night in the office. The office collapsed. That's not what's going on. We can't just say, yo, Gervonta, everybody has a bad night. Not when you're a 20-1 underdog or favorite. There's no way. You can't get that vibe. Like when Shakur did it, people gave him a pass. Well, at least Shakur fought a guy, in his division right there, right? And what the hell? That was a disaster. And through all that, what's up, angry white guy? Let me read your comment. I hope Tank in the monster fight. Oh, yeah. A close fight with a guy that he knew. Yeah, well. Yeah, that's it right there. Yo, listen, it's, you know, you'll get that one guy that'll come out, angry white guy, right? You'll get that one dude to come in, right? And his explanation to it all will be, guys, styles make fights. And when you got different styles, that's why Tank Davis was defeated. And wow, you said a lot. Let me get my pen and pad out and write down all your boxing wisdom. Say that again. Styles make fights. Wow, that is very, man. You don't know nothing about no goddamn boxing, bro. You're just repeating one-liners. You got those guys that try to exclude what happened with Tank Davis. Bullshit. Styles make fights. Tank Davis was familiar with him. They have experience. There's no, his style. When they say the phrase styles make fights, is when you came up against a style you weren't very familiar with, or it was your first time, and you had a difficult time adjusting to that style. And these people just want to say that it'd be in boxing conversations to try to use that to just merely dust off what happened here. No, there's a problem here. There's a problem. If Tank Davis is supposed to be the face of boxing, a king, a true knockout artist, right? And then look at, I believe a real blessing in disguise occurred on this night. And I want to bring this up right before I discuss this about Naoya Inoue and Tank. I believe a real important thing happened here for boxing. Because if you guys didn't know this, Jake Paul was in attendance in that fight. I'm hearing that the whole plan of the night was when Tank Davis defeated Lamont Roach, Jake Paul was going to hop in the ring and challenge Gervonta Tank Davis. But by Tank Davis coming out on a draw, it kind of spoiled the whole night. And I think Tank Davis and Jake Paul are really going to try to put a fight together, a gimme fight. In the height of your career, Tank Davis, this is what you want to do to your fans. Tank Davis, you are no longer boxing at that point. Yeah, you might get the bag with Netflix. It might be a lot of money. But if you're going to go do that, then do us all a favor and vacate that belt. Stop holding the 135-pound WBA championship hostage and pretending to be a champion. You got obligations to the 135-pound weight division. Although Lamont Roach had a great performance with you, Tank, I don't want to see that fight again. Not right now. I'll take that fight later down the line. Yes, I would like to see that fight again. But there's already people that were standing in line. Just because you chose to go down and bring a guy down up to 135 and you had this debacle happen, Tank, that's your business. You already have people standing in line waiting to fight you at 135. How are you going to even dare to breathe the Lamont Roach 2? And you mean to tell me that the 135 division is continually starting to stall out? The 140 is picking up mad action. The 154, mad action. And what once was what we considered where the Four Horsemen was, a rich, talented division, as 135 has now become a ghost town. And Gervonta Davis, your answer to all of this was going to be to fight Jake Paul's, all 5'5" of you, 135 pounds, to fight Jake Paul at what weight? Jake Paul fought at 190, 180. And you see, Jake Paul doesn't have anybody. Once he pulled that Mike Tyson shit off, he outdid himself. In order to outdo those numbers, you're going to need a big leg. That's why he wanted Saul. Saul pulled out on him. I guess Turkey gave him the money and kept Saul. I don't know what deal they worked out. I don't know if he did or not. But Jake Paul is looking for another star for that Netflix. He's got to feed that monster. And I don't think you're going to be able to outdo that Mike Tyson shit. And that's why Jake Paul is running around trying to challenge little champions, old champions, not really current champions. That Saul shit was crazy. That was free money for Saul, and I get it why he might have wanted took that. But what does this say about Gervonta Tank Davis now? How do you feel about him now? Last week, you probably thought he was probably the best thing since sliced bread. Watching him against Lamont Roach, you had to really be honest with yourself. Yo, Lamont, okay, you're good, but who the fuck is Lamont Roach, bro? He's not a knockout artist at 130. And he was able to take Gervonta Davis's punch. Now, the topic at hand. Let me read this. Guys, no, yeah. Boxing, what? Tank was sparring at 122 for this match? For Roach, I mean? What's up, mate? Salute, brother. Yo, I'm just telling you guys. Look, Gervonta Davis came in at 133 pounds in this fight. A lot of boxing analysts, including myself, always pitched around the fantasy fight with Naoya Inoue versus Gervonta Tank Davis at 130 pounds. And the question always stood, is Naoya Inoue a bit too small for Gervonta Tank Davis? Ironically, they're both the same height. Gervonta Tank Davis is 5'5" and Naoya Inoue is 5'5". The thing is, their body types are different. Gervonta Davis favors a more stocky build, where Naoya Inoue favors a more slender build. So I always used to hear that saying in boxing and gyms, this guy got heavy hands. He must got a thick skeleton. And in fact, you learn later on in life as you go through school, none of our skeletons are thick. It's just actually what makes you a harder puncher is the ability to flow your liquid, your blood, and try to get like that snap, and whatever God-given power you got behind your muscles, it all generates. Everybody throws a punch different, I would say, but some people understand the punch process much different. That's all that is. And they know how to throw it with good form. So the fact with Gervonta Davis and Naoya Inoue, that was a very intriguing fight. And on the low for many years, many years, I kind of stood in silent like a ninja. And I kept it to myself because the boxing world was more in love with Gervonta Tank Davis. And if you ever spoke up against them, oh my God, you can't speak up against Gervonta. But I knew from the moment I saw this guy right here, Naoya Inoue, he was special. He was something really different. He also, when I really became a fan of Naoya Inoue, and I'm a fan of every boxer, and I'm also a fan of Gervonta Tank Davis. Okay. And when I became a real fan of Naoya Inoue, what really intrigued me about him, because he had me sold with his boxing technique, his boxing footwork, style, ring IQ, you name it. I was sold. But what made me a fan of him was his dedication in and out of the ring. How he acts and conducts himself as a fighter. In between fights, does he blow up? Is he responsible? You know, does he lack discipline? And all these things, little by little, throughout the years, were answered. He's a complete fighter, and he represents a lot for boxing. When you, as a boxer, can take your country and bring it up and put it on your back and give all these new eyes to fighters like Junto Nakatoni, like Bam Bam Rodriguez, that is not even Japanese, but he's in that lower weight division where he was, and many eyes started watching the talent throughout the bantamweight division. He did a lot for boxing, and he took a lot of people with him as well. He wasn't a greedy champion. When he won all 4 belts at 118, 30 days after winning the last one, he vacated the belts so that he doesn't hold up no one's career. Did Terence Crawford do that? Did Devin Haney do that? No, a lot of these guys just held onto the belt for as long as they could, just in case they lose. They could always go back down and still have a belt. Naoya Inoue didn't do that. He had no plans of going backwards. True champion that speaks to you know who you are. And I always knew, I stood in silence and I said to myself, shit, put Tank in there with him. That's what I wouldn't publicly always come out and say, but I knew it inside. And I thought that this day might arise. It might be that much more reality now, wouldn't it? You know, that would be a real super fight right there. That would be Godzilla, King Kong type shit, bro. Two giants in the sport, bro. That would be remarkable, bro. That'd be a super fight. That'd be a super fight, man. And it'd be a battle of the giants. I would love to see that fight. I would have to try to be in attendance for that one. Their styles, Tank Davis, he tries to push you back with some pressure. He has a piston jab, being a left-handed puncher. The one thing he did against Lamont Roach that was not defensively sound, and I mean every time he would go on the inside, Lamont had him timed like this. He had his timing on him. Lamont was letting that left check hook go, bro, and he was catching Tank. He caught Tank Tank didn't think he was going to hit him, and Tank was laxy daisy with his defense on the inside. He thought, I'm Tank Davis, like in his head, I think. He was just like, I'm going to come in the inside, I'm just going to bang him. And before he got that shot off like this, Lamont was already, pow, snapping him. And then Tank tried to get like dirty with him and tie up on the inside of dirty box. And Lamont was showing him he wasn't there to be bullied. Lamont was just like smack, smack, and just, and to those people that think that Tank Davis fought a little laxy daisy because he knows Lamont's mom, bullshit. Tank was trying to rip his head off. Tank took it to him. Lamont truly weathered that storm. He really did. And at times, right, I thought in the fight, right, that Tank was going to catch up to him. But kudos to Lamont Roach. At one point in the fight, I saw that Tank wasn't going to catch up to him no more, and I knew that Lamont Roach had him. And when that happened, at what point in the fight did that happen? When Tank Davis started to talk to him. Tank Davis tried to get him to fight his ego. Tank saw that he was too defensively sound, and Lamont wasn't making any mistakes. He was staying the course. He had a plan, and Lamont was sticking to the plan. And Tank was trying to get him to come out of it. And Tank started talking to him. I think Tank started telling him, yo, let's bang, let's stand with me. And Lamont told him, Tank, I didn't come this far in the fight to do something stupid. and he didn't buy into what Tank Davis was trying to talk to him into doing. So Tank was trying to fight his ego, because at that point right there, I knew that Tank was lost. I've seen him behind in fights before against Mario Barrio. Tank's behind in a lot of fights. I've learned watching a Tank Davis fight. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. He's gonna knock him out, right? But the second I saw him start talking to him, I was like, fuck, Lamont got him. Tank's not gonna knock him out. I knew right there. I was like, fuck. Once he started talking to him. So I said to myself, okay, cool. If Naoya Inoue and Tank Davis was to fight, who would win? Who do you got in the fight? I got Naoya in the fight all day. I'm not going to bet against him. I think Naoya Inoue has more 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 punch selection to go to than Tank Davis. I really think that. I think he can go in his bag a lot more, and he brings a lot more to the table than Tank. And if we were thinking about Tank's power, you better start thinking about Naoya Inoue's power, because yeah, Tank Davis can knock you out with, you know what I'm saying, that big monster uppercut and shit like that. But you can't forget about Naoya Inoue got punching power in both hands. He can knock you out with a left check hook. He can knock you out with a right. He can knock you out with an overhand left. So Naoya Inoue's put numerous opponents out with both hands. So he's got a lot of power. What's up, Frontline? How you doing?
How you doing? What's up, Bobby?
What's up, man? How you been?
Shit, working. Listening while working, but just had to check in real quick. Talking about Inouye again?
Yeah, yeah. Inoue and Tank. What's up? Talk to me about Tank.
He's soft.
He's soft.
He's soft. All that
Yo,
talk, all that talk about, 30 fights, 28 knockouts. Look at the opponents he knocked out. They were ranked, but not in that same weight class. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
He either brought him up or brought him down. Whatever. You got to still give the man his credit for
right.
jumping in the ring with these guys. But at the end of the day, when he's faced with a true 35 or a true 40 or a true 30, the numbers and the data speaks for itself. Look at what happened with Roach. Roach came from 30 to 35. And by the way, Roach looked good as fuck at 35. Like, he impressed me. I mean, he looked a lot better than what he does at 30 for the size and everything. I think 35 will be his new weight class because he performed good and he looked good in that weight class. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Um,
yeah. Go ahead.
nah, go ahead, go ahead.
No, well, I'm under the impression Tank underperformed, and it's painting a picture that he's looking better at 135. Lamont Rocha. I'm under the line that Lamont Rocha didn't become an elite fighter overnight. That was still Lamont Roach. He wasn't a big puncher at 130, and he's not a big puncher at 135. He's not a knockout puncher, right?
He's not.
And
But
then if you don't got a knockout puncher, and then he lost to Jaleel Hackett, bro. Let's just remember that. And Shakur Stevenson destroyed that man, Jaleel Hackett. Okay, so
Jalil Hackett only has one loss, and it was against the Puerto Rican and the what undercard was that?
no, he lost to Shakur.
No, not Jalil Hackett. You got the names confused. It must be somebody else. Jalil Hackett's at 54.
Oh shit! I'm saying the name wrong. Shit! I am sorry. Damn, my brain is shutting off right now. Um, what's his name? That fought Shakur and him, Lamar Roach. Fuck, I'm saying his name wrong. Did I say his name wrong earlier? Because I was talking about Jaleel Hackett early on the top weight division, and the name fucking went into my head.
No, Jalil
Damn it! I
Hackett's
hate
at
when that
54.
happens. Yeah, I
But
was
he
talking
but
about him earlier today with another guy. Go ahead.
no, Jalil Hackett is but he is from Baltimore too, so that's probably why you're getting them confused.
Hold on. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now who he fought. Jamel Herring.
You there?
Yeah, you heard me?
Oh,
You there?
nah, it was coming in choppy. Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
Oh, Jamel Herring, was it?
Oh, Jermel Harrington. Yes, he's the Marine.
He's the one that beat Lamont Roach, and then Shakur beat him.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I talk too much boxing, bro, all day. I was earlier today talking with my boy about it, and we started going through the divisions. That's when I know I'm like I've talked boxing too much today because I even got their names mixed up again because we were talking about a situation up there. But anyway, yeah, listen, look, you got to understand that Lamont Roach's performance truly did not go up in the fight against Tank Davis. Lamont Roach really looked like Lamont Roach against Hector Luis Garcia. He looked like the same Lamont Roach, bro. The problem was that I think that Tank Davis truly underperformed. Tank Davis, he looked like Lamont was supposed to roll over for him. Like he bought into Las Vegas's lines. You do know Lamont Roach came into that fight a 20-1 underdog,
Yeah.
right? Like love this was not supposed to happen, right? So Tank goes into the fight, and was it me? Or did he look like he started fighting Lamont Roach like he fought Frank the Ghost Martin? He started trying to like go in that, and then Lamont Roach took him right out of that high guard real quick. Boom, boom.
Well, the problem that I saw Tank having was frustration.
A lot of
He
it.
he wasn't able to connect this because you got to understand Roach was on his P's and Q's that fight. You know what I'm saying? He was very defensive. So Tank not being able to do whatever the hell he wanted in the ring with his opponent frustrated him.
The fact that
His
he didn't have the ring IQ to make the adjustments, that scares me.
well, so again, every all the Tank fans, and it's no hate towards Tank. It's just my opinion from what I saw. I mean, the same way the judges saw the scorecard one way, everybody sees it different. You get what I'm saying? What I saw was Tank's famous uppercut that he catches all his opponents and knocks them the fuck out, like he did with Santa Cruz and Barrios and Rolly. No, Rolly, he caught him with a hook, but
Yeah.
he caught Ryan with that same uppercut. Long story short is he couldn't catch Roach with that same punch. So he shot it a couple of times and missed. So I'm thinking, was frustration the cause of his performance? One. Or two, you've been in boxing. I've never been in boxing, but even playing sports in general, when you have a coach talking to you and then you have another coach giving you a different set of instructions, doesn't that cause confusion,
A
especially in a
lot of it.
combat fight?
A lot of it. One coach got to step back and let the other guy just let him coach.
Right. So we saw Barry, the main coach, in the ring, giving him instructions, and he kept looking at Kelvin on the side to see what his response would be.
Right.
So was there confusion
I believe so.
on the adjustment or anything like that?
I believe
I
so.
have
And
no
I
clue.
also believe, yeah, I also believe that because both Calvin and Barry at the end of, the fight, when they got up on the podium, they hinted and said, you know, Tank wasn't himself. He wasn't doing what we were asking him to do. It kind of seemed like Tank got into the point in the fight where he became stubborn. Like, don't worry about it. I got this. I got this. I'm gonna knock him out. And like I said, there was a point in the fight that I felt like I wasn't worried. I've seen this before. I've seen Tank be down on cards. I was like, he's gonna knock him out. He's gonna knock him out. And then all of a sudden, Tank started talking shit to him in the ring. And I said, fuck. Right there in that split second, I said, Tank don't got him. Tank's trying to fight his ego. He's trying to get Lamont Roach to get out of character. Because whatever he was doing was effective against Tank's strategy. So what Tank needed to do was talk shit to him to see if he'll get him to stand there and bang with him. Lamont Roach probably told him, Tank, I know you could crack. I'm avoiding your punch. And
Yeah.
I'm going to stay composure within myself. And I'm not going to allow you to talk me into doing something stupid. So whenever I saw that in the fight, I knew that Tank Davis had tried everything and nothing was working against him. Lamont was he was defensively sound. He Lamont Roach act like he knew Tank Davis a lot more than what it was led on. You know, they had me thinking they only sparred in the amateurs or something like that, right? But to go in there and to know Tank that well, he made Tank look stupid.
Average. Yeah.
He made it, yeah.
Average.
He was one step ahead of Tank's whole fighting style. You know what was effective to a lot of people. Now I understand there's a lot of film on Tank Davis, but at one point in time, Tank didn't fight like that. He
So
didn't.
so you ready
When
for this? Yesterday, I was on I was in another content creator show,
Yep,
Spanish guy, Philo.
yep,
Philo ended up calling Jose Pavon. You know who Jose Pavon is,
okay,
the Puerto Rican referee.
yep, okay.
So they asked him the question about the knee that was taken while Tank was in the middle of the fight.
That's a knockdown.
100%.
It's a knockdown.
And the ref at his discretion could have now this is according to the regulations and the rules. The ref could have took it a step further if he wanted to, because you notice Willis started to count, and then when Tank looked at him like, what you counting for, he stopped counting and he put Roach in a neutral corner.
Right.
That being said, what that the referee was saying was he could have took it a step further and actually disqualified Tank for turning his back and going to his corner, because technically, according to the rules again, your corner man cannot touch the boxer unless it's within the 1 minute break in between rounds. The only one that can touch the boxer if a timeout is called is a doctor to take a look at the fighter. So
All those points that you brought up, all 100% valuable points, and they're all fact. The reason why, let me explain. For one, when Tank took the knee, that was a knockdown. When he sent Lamont Roach to a neutral corner and started counting, that Tank went and turned his back to the referee. If you turn your back to a referee, I can disqualify you right there. That's
correct.
one thing I can disqualify you for. By sticking your head outside of the corner and somebody else touching your face with a towel, that's turned for disqualification number two. Not only did he avoid two disqualifications because Tank had no permission, that's the boxer thinking he's bigger than boxing. The man actually thought that he can take a knee to wipe something out of his eye. You think Tim Zhu could say, hey, there's too much blood in my eye. Let me go over here,
Yeah,
wipe it
timeout.
out, and
Timeout.
time out and take a yeah, and come back. Okay, Sebastian, let's go. I just needed to wipe some of the blood out of my eye. You know, you think Naoya Inoue could say, "Oh, I got a fractured orbital bone." Wait. Let me run over here. Yo, put some stuff right here. Okay. You see, Tank, he 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 thinks he's too big. He
Yeah.
didn't think Lamont Roach was supposed to fight him. And even when he tried bully tactics, Lamont snapped him right back. Pow! Don't you want to play this shit? I can do this too. And he didn't show fear. He wasn't scared of Tank. And Tank was like, "Why are you not scared of me? Why are you actually fighting me?" It was like I kind of got that impression. Now I knew he had trouble because he went and got a second eye. He went and different coaching. Apparently, he must have felt, well, when I did fight Lamont Roach and probably lost or whatever took place, it was under Calvin Ford's coaching. So whatever Calvin Ford is teaching him, it didn't work against Lamont Roach, or it wasn't working. So coming into the fight, he felt he needed a second eye, a different type of style. So they went into a training camp, and in the first round, when Lamont Roach hit him, Tank diverted right back to the old Tank. He didn't do anything they worked on in training camp. That's probably
Nah,
what happened. And Tank just took it upon himself. Oh, I'm gonna knock him out. And kudos to Rocha. He stood the course. He
I tell you
stood the
what,
course.
that version of Tank that went in there with Roach fights Inoue that way. Inoue's gonna knock him the fuck out. That's just my opinion.
What the fuck are you talking about, my dad? What? What do you know about my dad? I just put it in the thing. I'll check that later. Hmm. Anyway,
They should have sent you that shit private, not on a fucking chat.
yeah, yeah. My father passed away a few years ago. But anyway, so check it out, right? I feel like, Tank Davis, you really put your phone number up on the chat board so everybody can see it. That looks like a New Jersey number where I'm from.
Nah, that's a Philly number, 215, or Pennsylvania.
Got a lot of family out towards that way. I would hold on.
Hey, that's the story of his life. He never reads his messages.
Yeah, never. I guess that's the only one way you're gonna get a hold of me. Yo, okay, you could take that down.
You
Matter of fact,
take it down that because it's on Facebook.
yeah, I'm taking it down right now. I can't take it down because I would have to block them.
No, you could erase the message.
How?
I don't know if it's the same as YouTube, but you tap on the on
Okay,
them
yep, I
and
would
then
have
it
to go to
says
YouTube
remove.
then. I would have to go to YouTube then. Uh,
Hey, yo, whoever's watching this and sees that shit, don't be a fucking asshole and try to call them and fucking prank
yeah.
call and all that shit.
Yo, so me cago en la madre. ¿Qué pasó aquí? Oh, I'm doing it wrong.
But yeah, um, in a way, it was. I'm not gonna say stop Tank. Tank got a. So here's another thing. Tank has a chin, but Lamont Roach ain't got much pop, and
Now
Lamont
they try.
Roach buckled Tank a couple times in the fight, and we all know that Inoue got pop. You know
What?
what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the thing is that they're already putting him up against Shakur Stevenson.
Who's
You
that?
know,
Roach?
yeah, this morning they're all over YouTube talking about a potential matchup between Lamont Roach and Shakur Stevenson, and all of a sudden everybody are talking up Lamont Roach like now he's a true 135 pounder because he looked so good against Tank Davis. And I'm trying to remind the world, why do you think Tank Davis put rehydration clause on these guys? Why do you think Tank Davis fought these guys down, Hector Garcia in lower weight divisions. Why you? Because he's a small guy. He's a naturally small dude. And Shakur Stevenson is big as shit for the division. And then all of a
And
sudden,
and
you
now the
saw.
motherfucker's fighting Jake Paul.
Listen, yo, get tupido, bro. You really
Son,
thought
like,
you were gonna pull that off, Tank? Like you were gonna sell to the world? You're gonna fight 180-pound Jake Paul? I don't care how much that white dude don't know how to fight. At some point, your 135-pound ass can't blimp up too much. You're not gonna be able to move. He's gonna knock
what?
you out of the ring,
So he fights at 30, at 35. I can see Tank getting up as far as like his natural walk around weight to be no more than 150, 55, 55, 60 will be pushing it. You get what I'm saying?
bro. Listen, let me listen. Front line. I fought. I fight right. I'm 100.
Bar
I'm
fights don't
190.
count.
I'm 199. I'm 199, two something, 230, 203 or something like that, right? Okay. If I was to fight Jake Paul, they would say, Edwin, get down to 180, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, uh, that would be a little difficult. It would be a little difficult. And although I know in my hearts of hearts, if I catch that white boy from the side, I'll lay him out. I know if I catch him, oh, I'll lay him out, right? That's the problem. I would have to catch up to him, right? And I understand the difficulty from just moving up one weight division or something. Shit, I've been that kid in the amateurs that fought that bigger guy and they didn't count it on that night because neither of us had a fight. I've done that on nights. I know how damn near I've punched the dude with everything I had. Like a normal shot, I would drop anybody from the side. Boom! Yo, he smiled at me. I knew then I just didn't have enough in my ass, enough weight behind my ass to hit him. I was just too small.
Look at this shit I doing. Look, 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 look. That's the shit I do right there.
You do some really nice shit though. That shit is dope. That's a nice ass fire pit. That's some luxury shit right there. That's good
That's
work
the
right there. I know what I'm looking at. I know
that's the
what
type
that
of shit
is.
I do.
I know what
I
that
deal
is.
I deal with the pool builders and shit like that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. They
Nah,
grab the
that
bandsaw.
that's some good work right there, man. I,
Grab the
yo,
nipple tray and 490s,
when I
three
used to do that
quarters.
kind of work, right? Not your work, not that kind of work. I'm talking about carpentry, like framing for the houses and stuff, and then
See,
the
I don't do carpentry because that's very, very like, especially like trim carpenters
yeah,
or cabinet makers. That's just got to be down to like the 64th of an inch.
right,
I don't,
right,
I don't
right,
have the pay. I don't have the patience for that.
right. So we're all in there, right? And at some point in the job, like different branches are all in there at the same time. We're all working around each other. We got the electrician crew, they don't work with us. They're a separate entity. And then you got like the sheetrock guys, they're a separate entity. And then you got the framers. So we're all sitting there at lunchtime, right? And we're all joking around, just shooting shit, throwing it by each other. And I come out and I tell the guy, man, ain't life a bitch? And he was like, why? I was like, because no sooner that we knock the last nail into this building that we all built with our own bare hands, we can't afford to live in it.
Dude, if you see the houses and the people that I do work for,
Built the motherfucker, bro. We built that house from the ground up. And we walked away looking at it like, why can't we just built it
yo,
with
look at
throughout
this dude. Look at this.
the
Look at
month?
this dude's yard. Look, look, look.
And that's what I'm talking about, bro. Life's a bitch,
This is his yard.
huh?
This is his yard.
Yeah, I
His
see it.
house is there,
Yep.
and then he's got
That shit is fire.
the pool's
Damn,
just
man, I
built.
always wanted one of those. Man, that shit is dope. I can see it in my head, or because I've been on projects, I could basically see it in my head. What I could imagine what it'll look like finished, and they'll probably put like a gazebo, some big shit on the top or
Nah,
whatever. And
he's getting a screen enclosure on this, and it's gonna be
is he?
yeah, it's gonna be what the screen enclosure is what they call the panoramic view.
Oh,
So
because you
it's
guys are
like
out there in Florida. That's right.
yeah,
You guys got those screen things. See, I'm out here. We got to make shit that lasts for the winter type shit. You see
well
what
at
I'm
least it's
saying?
got to last 2 hurricanes.
Right,
So
right, 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 right. So the projects will be. I understand what you're. Yeah, that is shit. Yeah, man. But that's the funny thing about life, man. It kicks you in the balls sometimes. Reality's a motherfucker, and a lot of reality is gonna start hitting Tank Davis in his face now with a lot of this criticism going around in boxing. A lot of people woke up this morning and they're not buying into it. And you're the one that told me, because when I watch the fights, I don't watch it with volume because
yep,
it'll mess up my perception. And you're the one that told me they were booing him. I had
yeah.
no idea they were booing him. I didn't know that any of that took place until you told me that.
Yo,
And
did
then
you
I
see
had,
that? Did you check your WhatsApp when I sent you that the Tank remix? They got a remix on them with 2 days ago. It's called 2 days ago.
oh yeah, oh whoa, whoa,
Look it
whoa.
up.
When he said I did my hair 2 days ago, yeah, that
Yeah.
remix, yeah, 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 yeah.
Hold on, who's that? Elvis. Elvis said to read his last post. Let me go down.
Elvis,
He said,
baby.
in a way, if he went up to 30, is the only guy that would knock out Tank in say 8 rounds. He's twice as fit and twice as fast. He's talking about Nick Ball.
So he thinks that Nick Ball will do what?
Knock Tank out.
Hell no. Nah. Nick Ball looks like that and that's strong, but think of the weight. He's at 126. Tank Davis is 2 divisions above him at 135. That means that even if Nick Ball was coming in at 126 on fight night, let's just say roughly, let's say he got up anywhere between 138, right? 140, right around there. What do you think Tank Davis is entering the ring on fight night for 135? I think Tank would be that would be an interesting fight because you would think in your head they're gonna clash. Nick Ball's gonna come with those little. He looks like a little white Mike Tyson. Like the way he dips underneath, trying to like hook. He's all power, Nick Ball. But Tank's got technique, and let's not sleep on him. I don't know what happened to Tank or why he chose to fight this, but I can bring you proof that Tank is a boxer. When he fought the Cuban Uriel Gamboa, Tank was boxing in that match. When he fought Leo Santa Cruz, he boxed in that match against Leo sometimes. Then he switched it up and went pressure and shit. So Tank can box. I don't know why he chose to fight this kind of fight in this particular fight. That I don't know. I don't. It was kind of eerie to realize Tank wasn't going to make the adjustments. The whole time I'm watching the fight, I'm thinking to myself, Tank's ring IQ is very high. He's gonna make the
You know what I
adjustments.
think he thought? I think he thought what I think he thought was he probably remembered um he probably remembered the way Roach fought in amateurs,
Yep,
and that's probably like his last impression that he had of him.
yep.
And he figured that he'll fight him the way he fought him in the amateurs,
Yeah,
and he got surprised.
yeah. I'm not buying that neither. I'm not. I think
No, 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 no. I'm just
they
saying
sparred more.
because
They sparred
there's
more. I
one
think as
excuse.
adults they sparred.
There's one excuse out there saying that Tank took a knee because he thought it was amateurs. That's a fucking lame excuse because the motherfucker's been professional for 30 fights. So that excuse is out the door.
Yeah, but Tank
Um,
doesn't know the rules.
did
He's
you
as dumb. He's as dumb as a boxer. See, you'll be surprised, right? And I've gone through this. You'd be surprised
you heard his hairdresser?
how many pros don't know the rules of boxing. All they do is concentrate on the fighting. When they get to the pros, they never bother to open a rule book and say, what are all the rules? They just assume they know it. That's how a boxer typically goes through his career. When Tank said, I didn't know I couldn't get a knee or that, if you listen closely to his own interview, he puts his foot in his mouth. Tank, I know he'll be back. He probably had to take a phone call. He put his own foot in his own mouth. You know what Tank says in the interview? He says, the braid snaps in my eye. I get grease in my eye. I try to wipe it. So I didn't want him to hit me while I was blind. So I took a knee.
Did you hear his hairdresser came out publicly and said that she did his hair like 2 weeks prior to that?
No.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So anyway, he said, so I had the grease in my eye, and what I did was I took a knee so that I could go to the corner. Okay, wait a minute, Tank Davis. You're admitting that you knew if you took a knee, it would halt the action? That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. Damn it. You know what I mean? You took a knee to halt the action, but you didn't know that it was going to cost you a standing 8 count. But somehow in your head, what did the knee add up to? A timeout? You can't call timeout in boxing. That's what separates us from all the other major sports. And
he got away with that one, though.
In basketball, if you're going up by 10, timeout. Football, timeout. I got to talk to my guy on the mount. Timeout and pitch him out. In boxing, there's no timeout. Where in the rule book did it say that, Tank?
So let me ask you this: you think Team Roach will appeal this?
Okay. Here's the thing. For what? For it to get ugly? So do you really want Lamont Roach to turn into Devin Haney?
No.
Right.
But
right.
There's a huge difference here.
No. I understand where you're going to go with it, and I got to stop you right there because you're right. You are right on the huge difference. That is the elephant in the room. But I'm going to tell you what. Even if you were to get justice, what you're seeking for is for them to overturn the decision. By overturning the decision, you think that, Las Vegas now owes me money. So you think you're going to overturn a decision and get your money back? Or how about this one? Even if you award Lamont Roach the victory and you give Tank Davis the defeat, it's going to come under scrutiny and controversy. You can do away with all of that controversy and everything else by reliving the fight, having it over, right? Okay, sounds simple, right? We don't want that shit. I don't want to see it.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, if Roach said he's not going to pursue it.
Yeah, I don't think he should. He already won by the people.
He's taking it like a man.
He won by the people. The people deemed him a winner on that night. The people was what speaks. Me, you, these people tuning in right now. No matter what. When back in the day, when racism was like on full display, and it was usually because the white champion didn't want to fight the brother. He would avoid him. What did they do? We made the Ringside Magazine and deemed you the people's champion. And we gave you a belt and we told you, wear it proudly because the people recognize you as our champion, not that chump. Although he might have the belt, you're the people's champion. That's how typically boxing life works. And in today's era with social media, the people deem Lamont Roach the winner of that fight. So rather than take on more scrutiny, bringing it to court, getting scrutinized, what are you turning into Devin Haney? No, you already won. On a broad state, the next time Lamont Roach fight, he's going to get paid. And the people are going to show him in their support because he won. So don't fuck it up, is what I'm saying. Don't go to court. Don't go into debit. I don't want I don't want it like that. The people saw with their own eyes what happened. I don't think he was going to beat Tank Davis in a decision anyway.
No, how everybody knew that.
All right, so like I was telling Lamont Roach, do exactly what you're doing right now. Just take it on the chin, my man. You weren't going to beat him in a decision. But you know what the curious thing for me is? Is Tank Davis a man of his word? Is he gonna pay Lamar Roach $250?
Oh, that's
250?
that's a question. That's a good question because he said he was gonna knock him out, right? That was the bet.
That was the bet. That was the bet. You owe me $250,000, brother. That's not for 200. I might send some midgets at your house to break your kneecaps, bro. Stop it. That's $250,000. You fuck around and owe me $100 in the street. If I see you, it's not going to be an inconvenience. You know what I'm saying?
That's gonna be on site.
My man Miyagi with the super chat. Let me put it up here. Hold on.
Roach had a new post on X saying Tank going to 30-1. His team may be appealing it because him and Tank going back and forth on X.
Wow. See, now this is spilling all over social media. And you know what Tank's trying to do, right? You know what Tank's trying to do? Tank's trying to relive this matchup right now. And this is going to piss me off because we've been waiting for fights. We have people in line like Shakur, the newly acquired Keyshawn Davis, Loma. They've been in line waiting to fight you, Tank David, in a division you have a responsibility to. You have a responsibility to the 135 and to keep things pushing amongst either competitors or champions. But let's just remember, Tank, you did this. Nobody wanted you to fight Lamont Roach in the first place. And just because you went out there and had a lackluster performance, guess what, Tank? That's on you.
Yeah.
You need to give us what we want to see and do your job. You're at work. It's like you're coming to work and telling the boss, don't fuck with me today. I don't want to work. What you mean you don't want to work? You have an obligation to 135, not to 130. You owe Lamont Roach nothing. You need to fucking defend that belt there and prove to the world, wait a minute, Shakur, you think you could beat me after this? And then shut the world back up. I bet you do some shit like that, Tank, and you'll be riding on a high. But I'm starting to think that when you say, oh, Lamont Roach can beat all these guys at 135, I want to see them fight because, and I'm saying to myself, why you think Tank Davis avoided them for a reason? If he didn't fight Shakur or them, it's because this Lamont shit revealed a lot.
So I thought about that Shakur and that Shakur versus Tank. I've thought about it. That would be the most boringest fight, and here's why.
Why?
Because Shakur is a counter puncher / boxer. Tank, same way. He's a counter / boxer. They both have high ring IQ.
Yeah.
And I think they'll just stand in front of each other the whole fight. Tank's going to wait for Shakur to throw. Shakur's going to wait for Tank to throw. And I think it'll be a boring fight.
So what you're saying is they're going to stay on the outside and they're just going to be like feinting and trying to see which one goes in. They're going to be one punch, back out, one punch, back out.
The one that I see as the aggressor, though, I see Tank as the aggressor.
You see Tank as the aggressor?
If that fight happens, yeah.
All right. Well, here's the thing about Shakur Stevenson, right? In the Edwin De Los Santos fight, he ran, right? He ran in that fight. He ran. He did. He ran. He got on his bike. He ran. After the Edwin De Los Santos fight, he didn't necessarily run. He stood in front of the people. They just couldn't hit him. And he was doing it at a closer distance, the thing was, Shakur at 135, not until I saw it through a multiple fight that I started to notice maybe his power didn't translate from 130 to 135 like everybody thought it was going to. So he might not be the greatest power puncher, but the man can fight. The man is a
No, Shakur
technician.
definitely got skills.
Oh, he got skills. He's a technician. So when I think Tank's little ass starts to see he can't push Shakur back, and I think now watching Lamont Roach take full-fledged punches from Tank Davis, I said to myself, he ain't gonna move Shakur. Tank is really little. He's been disguising it that he was a big guy. He's a little man with a small man, big man complex, that type shit. That's what.
Oh, you got little man syndrome?
Yeah, that's what Tank is. He got like a big head that doesn't match his body. He's like a bigger guy in his head. He really believes that. And, I think a lot of people protected him. They were like, man, you're a little guy and you're doing all of this. And they knew how to dress him up. That's why when you look back at his career explains a lot. Tank Davis. You start to notice, oh shit, he brought this guy up. Oh shit, he brought this guy up. Oh shit, he brought this guy up. You know what I'm saying? And when the fans start to notice that, it's going to spell something out for you. It's going to tell you, oh shit, yeah, they have been. He's a little dude. He's always been little. It's not like I think Shakur's too big for him. And I think Shakur Stevenson is just that much bigger than Keyshawn Davis. And I think Shakur Stevenson would whoop Keyshawn Davis's ass. If you put Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis in the ring, I got Shakur Stevenson. If you put Tank Davis and Keyshawn in the ring, I don't know.
Don't lock it up yet.
I don't know. And even that I know that Tank Davis has been around a lot longer, and Keyshawn is just a young, undefeated eagle. He doesn't know how to lose right now, and he's riding on a high, and he's got some pop, and he's big. So Bomac is teaching him how distant management. I don't know if Tank really catches up to Keyshawn. I would have to see that. But if I was to listen, Lamont Roach really exposed Tank Davis's ring IQ. I wouldn't say so much his skills. I've seen Tank Davis switch it up, but when you get Tank Davis frustrated, I saw he couldn't think. A man that skilled couldn't make adjustments in there against Lamont Roach. Yo, he kept getting hit with the same shot over and over and over. And then Tank Davis has the balls, the fucking audacity to say he's better than Floyd. That he's a better fighter than Mayweather. If you hit Mayweather with that shot, good luck. For the rest of the fight, you will never hit him with that punch again.
Mr. Miyagi, the link is in the chat. Hop on. Come on, brother. You part of the family.
And yeah, absolutely. Man, listen, I'm gonna drop the link right now too, Mr. Miyagi, for you, brother. I'm just saying, man,
Ichigo Hollow says, also, Inoue is able to adjust quickly with a fighter, and the monster jab is way superior than Roach, and Roach used his jab to stop Tank.
I couldn't believe he couldn't make those kind of adjustments, Tank. I thought he was so much smarter. And when Roach hit him with that shot, what surprised me was he kept hitting him with it. And I was just sitting there going, holy shit balls. He's frustrated. He's not making right reads. He's allowing him to. And Tank was just trying to bulldozer him. Tank thought, oh, I'm just taking it easy. Wait until I start punching. And when he decided to start punching and Lamont Roach wasn't fazed by it, I don't know. Tank had nothing left. I think in that instinct, Tank had a brain fart. And he was just he forgot what boxing was about. I really, because I've seen him fight different ways. The fact that he stood that same way, and then Calvin Ford and his coach said he wasn't doing what we were asking him to do, which speaks to that's what they weren't working on. He decided at some point to take over on himself. And he didn't make no adjustments. That scares me right there. And then when you think about a fighter such as Naoya Inoue that's so focused, so dedicated, so and their attention to detail. You know, Naoya Inoue comes out in different styles, beats you, and he's much more than what a lot of these fight fans think, and he's a lot better fighter than Tank Davis. I knew it a long time ago, but speaking up against Tank here, shit, they're gonna criticize you until this shit happened, and the fucking curtain was fucking pulled on him.
For sure.
Hey, there's Miyagi right there. I'm gonna bring you in. You don't have to. What's up,
Daniel
Mr.
Song.
Miyagi? How you doing, brother?
Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
There
I
you
hear
go.
you. How you doing? Glad you could
I'm
join
very
us.
well. Thank you for letting me on.
Yes, absolutely. What do you think about this whole situation with Tank Davis, Mr. Miyagi, and what would you like to share?
Tank Davis and
You know
Mr.
what?
Miyagi.
I think, again, he does it to himself. Like, how you can't. This is why I don't like fighters that talk a lot, because you put yourself into this corner when something like this happens. No one's going to give you any grace.
Right.
Like when he's talking about like Shakur hasn't done this and that, just blatantly lying about other people's achievements, saying that
Mm-hmm.
they're no good and everything. He's the best. It's just some of the stuff is ridiculous. So when you get stuff like this that's happened with this Lamont Roach situation, no, even his own fans, you see a lot of people that are, Tank supporters turning around saying it's bullshit. That's why he got booed when he turned around and said that it was the grease that got in his eye. And then the hairdresser comes out and says, well, no, it wasn't any, it didn't use anything like that.
Hmm.
And even if it was, it doesn't matter. He still took a knee. The ref started counting to 4 and then just stopped.
Right.
So you can't. It's just ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous thing. But he's done it to himself.
It's the
Can't
You
say
know.
any
politics
more.
in boxing. That's the
Yeah.
problem. The politics in boxing.
No,
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi's right. When we talk about all these fighters, and we can be critical. Sometimes we're critical to some of these fighters, right? And the fighter comes out and says, "Why are you saying this about me, motherfucker? Because you're the one that said you were gonna do this, 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 and this. You're the one that was jumping around saying Shakur Stevenson didn't do nothing at 130 when he had 3 belts. He did more than you did. And like you start saying, I'm gonna knock this guy in this time and this and this, and I'm the best fighter in the world, and I'm the face of boxing. Well, then if you're putting all these expectations on yourself, and you go out and have a performance like that, and people criticize you for what? The very words you said. And we can go back and see all the shit talking when shit talking gone wrong. And like Mr. Miyagi said, you expect sympathy and at a time when you show none for no one. You had a lot to say about everybody else's worth ethic, who they are as a fighter. And when this happens, you expect what? You expect the fans to, oh, Tank, you had a bad night. Leave Tank alone. He's been through a lot.
Yeah.
No, no. You're out here talking like a king when you need to do king shit. When Naoya Inoue went down against Luis Pantera Nari, the difference between, you know, fighters that gone down in fights and stuff, it's not how you go down in a fight. It's how you get up and respond, how you made adjustments in the fight. Tank Davis couldn't make adjustments to a guy he brought up. Now, Lamont Roach himself on an interview saying if Naoya Inoue was to come up to 130 and fight Lamont Roach said, Naoya Inoue, don't come up here because I'm gonna beat you. And then the guy looked at him and Lamont Roach was like, yo, I'm gonna keep it honest. I'm actually a fan of Naoya Inoue. He's actually one of my favorite fighters. Naoya Inoue is your favorite fighter. I try to tell you guys that, right? And Lamont said, the reason why I'm saying I'll beat him is because we're all fighters. And if you're a little guy coming up to the weight division, well, then damn it, I'm saying that you're the little guy. I'm bigger. I'm going to beat you, right? There's no way you could beat me if I'm the bigger guy. So the ironic thing was he was going in the fight with Tank Davis, and he was actually doing the same thing he was saying that Naoya Inoue could do against him. He was be the little guy going up to fight Tank. So that's fighters. Always speaking, always putting expectations on themselves. And Miyagi, you brought up a good point that, if we're being critical to these fighters, it's no doing part to half the shit that comes out of their own mouth. You know?
It's just good. I just wish the fighters would just say less because there's no, like you always say, actions speak louder than words. So in the ring, it's what you're doing. That's why this is why I have almost like a visceral response when people are just hating on Naoya Inoue for
Right.
nothing. Because this man doesn't disrespect anyone except those that deserve disrespect, like Casemiro.
Right.
And he's always respectful and never undermines other people's achievements.
Naoya Inoue is a true. He's really what's the word I'm looking for to the sport, like the honor in the sport of combat. Respect your opponent. They come from a different side of the world, and in America they're rah rah, and I get it. The ironic thing of what you speak of is 100% true. You know why I know it to be true? Naoya Inoue can't speak one word of English. He's never talked shit to no one. And does the world know who he is? Yes. How do you know who he is? By his skills. And by he lets his fist do the talking in the ring. He doesn't need to sell you on the fight. He doesn't need to convince you how bad he's gonna knock this guy out. He doesn't need to do any of that. Naoya Inoue just bows, looks at you. I'll see you in the ring. And why do people want to see him again? Because of what he does. He's not a hype job. He's not somebody that has to convince you to show up and spend money on his ticket. He's a man that's legitimately knocked out his last 12 consecutive fighters coming into is going to be his 25th consecutive world title fight in a row. Consecutive. I don't know too many men in
You
history
know,
that jump out through 4 divisions. Go ahead, brother.
you know that record, the 24 consecutive world title fights. I think the only man to beat that is Joe Louis.
Yeah, but Joe
He has,
Louis did it in one division.
yeah, no, that makes it even more impressive. But I'm just saying, just for the stats purposes, 24. I think Joe Louis did 25 consecutive world title fights. And I know this is going to be, they're going to include the different weight divisions when Inoue retires, but just on the
Yeah.
numbers, Inoue's 2 fights away. Even if he lost his next fight, if he manages to somehow jump straight into another one, he's already beaten the record. Well, he's going to tie this next fight. He's going to be tied with Joe Louis for that
Right.
record.
There's another record that's like even bigger than that. I once was looking it up. Before I say it, I gotta look it up. But what makes Naoya Inoue in a category on his own is just that he did it throughout 4 weight divisions so far. It's 4. That's what's astounding because he came up from 108 and he's at 122. And when you think about fighters moving up through weight divisions, they usually take a fight in between to get acclimated to the division. How did he get 24 consecutive world title fights? Where were your breaks? Where did you take time out to get acclimated to the division? The only way you could have possibly done that, you took the champion to acclimate to the division. You chose to fight the champion right away 4 times, well, 3 times, you see, and that's what it spells out. And then when you start to break that down, you're like, shit. Even Mayweather, you look at Mayweather's career when he jumped up 147, 140 to 147, he took up a tune-up fight for no belts to get acclimated. And a lot of the champions did that. They always took this fight. Naoya Inoue said, yeah, I'll take the tune-up fight. They said, who do you want? The champion. He jumped up again. Who do you want? The champion. And then in one of the ones from 108 to 115, he jumped the 112. So not only did he move up in a weight, he moved up 2 weight divisions and fought the champion right away. The unbeaten champion too. And it was like, I was like, what the we know, as he kept going on, I couldn't help but notice that no one else has ever done this in history. I started looking up all the greats, Floyd, Ali, everybody. I was looking them all up. And the one thing, like even my guy, I believe my guy from Puerto Rico, Wilfredo Gomez, right? Now, he had 34 super bantamweight fights at 122, right? Just before he won the title, he had all his fights were 100% knockout ratio. He had 17 world title fights. He won them all by knockout. All 17. And I thought that was impressive. And Wilfredo Benito is like a 17-year-old world champion, right? But the shit that Naoya Inoue is doing eclipses that shit. Because he defended that belt at 115 7 times. He jumps up 118. He gets all the belts from the last belt he got at Paul Butler, the last one. That's where the clock starts ticking. He got that belt. It took him from that moment till the moment he won the last 2 belts at 122. It took him 1 year to get 8 belts. 1 year and 13 days to get 8 belts. He unified all the 122 in 6 months. He fought Stephen Kubo Fulton in July and Marlon Tapales in December. In 6 months, he unified the entire division. I was just left scratching my head. I was sitting here going, bro, when he retires and they got to look at his record, like he's going on right now on a run, and they're just judging him on fight-to-fight basis. Unless you really know his history, the fans act like, oh, he's putting up 4 belts. Like there's fighters doing that every day, right? He's the only person doing that currently. And the only person besides, I think, Josh Taylor that defended, Saul defended him too, I'm sorry. But he doesn't have him anymore. But he's doing shit like that. They act like what he's doing is just like putting up 1 belt and shit. He's fucking smashing records here, man. And when it's all said and done, that's why I say a lot of people are not happy that he's doing all of this. Although it's exciting for me, you to watch, the boxing gods, they don't live on his side of the world. They want their legends to stay in the record books. And I've always said, for the one time in my life, please, boxing gods, if you guys hear me, just let him do what he's doing. Let me see what real talent, how far it can take you. No drugs, no guy flipping your car, no waking up arrested, your favorite fighter. Let me see a guy that's truly dedicated. Don't get in his way. Don't deny him the fights. Don't tell the other champions to avoid him because you don't want him to break no more records. Let's just see, mano a mano, competition wise, could he do it? Give him the fights, you know? But I thought at some point in Naoya Inoue's career, the boxing gods were going to come and show their ugly face. They're going to find some way to disrail his run because he's the type of guy that really got one up on the boxing world. You have to understand that when he was doing his thing, they were allowing him to do this and getting him all these fights because let's just be honest, people. No one thought he was going to do it. No one thought a Japanese. We all think, yeah, you're good over there. Yeah. When they saw all his first fights, yeah, they're all in Japan, bro. Yeah, we've seen that a million times. Wait until he crosses the pond. It's over for him. Yo, when he crossed the pond and he entered that World Series of boxing, you think these dudes would have woke up? No. They got to double down on their bullshit because they already shoved half their foot down the mouth by calling him a hype job. So instead of giving Naoya Inoue his credit, no, they fed Stephen Kubo Fulton to him. And they had that man thinking he was a hype job. And after he whooped his ass, Stephen Kubo, they kept still like, well, maybe. And then they couldn't stop him. Then the Naoya Inoue train was full speed ahead. And they found out, wait, we fucked up. We gave this Japanese dude all these opportunities, and all these fighters said yes. They took a look at his picture, and they said, you want me to fight this guy? Him? And just like he fooled everyone else, just like he fooled Narvaez. Narvaez comes into the fight with a crazy record. What was it? 36 fights, 32 fights? And Omar was a champion. He had 43 professional fights with one loss. And a kid that had 7 fights walked up and challenged me? You mean to tell me you want me to fight a Japanese kid that just turned 20 years old? He only has 7 professional fights and he's going to fight me? Well, he had 6. Going into his fight, it's 7. It's even one less. They weren't convinced. And Naoya Inoue wiped them all down. And before they can be like, oh shit, he's taking all these records. He's doing all this. Stop him. They couldn't stop him. And now what are they doing? Because they can't beat him in the ring. These motherfuckers, and I love Floyd. He'll always beat his mouth. Not so much. But he'll never change for me what he did in the ring for us. So, but Floyd knows how powerful his words are. And for him to come out and accuse Naoya Inoue of using steroids, he knew that would stick. That once Floyd said it out of his mouth, to some people, Floyd is boxing God. That's all he had to say. You can't beat him in the ring, so try to destroy his character. These guys don't like what he's doing. And they're trying all these, and that's what I mean, man. Listen, let me tell you something. If I was, a brain surgeon or an astronaut, anything in the world, I don't care what it was, anything I dedicate my life to, you could talk about my mom, you could talk about me, you could talk about anything. But don't you dare talk about my life's work. Don't you dare come in here and try to tell me, you know what I mean? Don't, like, that's like saying, Floyd, you were a fraud. You can say anything you want. Don't attack his body of work. And that's what I meant about Naoya Inoue. How dare you? You can't beat him in the ring. So you guys had to come up with hand wrap allegation, steroid gate, fucking hype job. This is the boxing corruption of boxing, showing favoritism in the sport. Favoritism to who? Naoya Inoue, his entire career wasn't signed to Top Rank. Top Rank signed him after he beat Nonito Donaire in the World Series of Boxing because Nonito Donaire was signed to Top Rank at the time. And in that fight, they were actually promoting Nonito Donaire. He was the one that was supposed to win that World Series of Boxing, and it was going to catapult his career again. Because remember, he was on the pound for pound list at one point in time, The Flash. That was supposed to catapult his career. Then they said he was washed up. You mean The Flash? The guy that made it to the final round with Naoya Inoue? That's the guy that's washed up. That if Naoya Inoue was not in that tournament, The Flash wins it. Who in that tournament was going to beat Donaire? Who? He was so good, in fact, he made it to the final round of the tournament. And no sooner than Naoya Inoue beats him, you know what they say? Flash was 36, he was old, he was washed up. And then he goes on to win another world title to an undefeated champion, young champion. Donaire beats him, defends the belt. That's how old he is. And then gets another shot at Naoya Inoue. Man, that's how good he was. But rather than give Donaire their flowers, they try to shit on Naoya Inoue. And for a long time, they had fans fooled. Yeah, what's up, Mr. Miyagi?
Well, it's what they're trying to do with Arthur Beterbiev since he lost to Bivol. They're saying, oh, is that age caught up with him? I'm like, man, he's literally met the carbon copy of himself. Basically, like, they're the perfect match. And this is what I feel with the Tank and Lamont Roach fight. I feel like Lamont, since they had that fight, Lamont just knows all those tails, when to turn his body and go into the Philly shell and slip the punches. And like same for Tank. Tank was hitting Lamont with some good punches. He wasn't quite effective enough, but it just seemed, that to me reminds me of the Bivol versus Beterbiev fight.
Yep.
The way it was ebbs and flows, back and forth. I was so surprised with that fight. Honestly, that was exciting for me.
Yeah. I mean that. Okay, and a question I want to ask you. Do you think we should relive that fight again, or you think they should move on from each other for a minute?
You know what? The topic of this live is Inoue versus Tank, right?
Yeah.
And Tank's talking like he's not going to retire this year. He says he's got 5 or 6 more fights, something like that. Now, I can see a scenario if Inoue breaks the 126, gets the championship, maybe does like one defense or one unification, because I don't think they're going to allow him to become undisputed in a third weight class, not unless there's 2 unified champions. But just imagine if just before Inoue moves up, Tank then does the rematch with Lamont at 130 for that W. Say Lamont keeps his belt for another year or so, or however long, and then they relive the rematch at 130 for that belt, and then the winner then fights Inoue moving up. That would be insane.
Yeah, and even we're the video is called Tank versus Naoya Inoue, but the more you say it, the more my brain starts to shit. If Lamont did that to Tank, and you think the fans would welcome a Lamont Roach Naoya Inoue fight at 130 for his real 130 belt?
Probably. Because Lamont and Stephen Cowboy Fulton they're boys.
Yeah.
I never knew this. Just it would just be crazy.
That would
just
be
see a line of events. Imagine Inoue moves up.
Yep.
Stephen Fulton takes the rematch. Inoue beats him and then says, I'm moving to 130, and Lamont welcomes him. I'll get revenge for Stephen Cowboy Fulton. That would be crazy.
That shit gets me crazy. That gets my blood pumping right there just thinking about it. Like, that would be like epic. He fights 2 Philly fighters like that, and Well. He from DC, but he go down to Philly and he messes with like they boys Scooter and him and shit. So he's from Wait a minute. Where's from Lamar Roach from again? Isn't he from? I'm getting him confused with. No. The person that was from DC on the card was the Gary Antoine Russell kid. He said, "I'm bringing the belt back to DC." I think he said, right? Because I'm having a brain fart. I've been talking boxing way too long today. But anyway, I just the fighters themselves. Fuck where they from. Just the excitement of themselves of him taking that Stephen Kubo Fulton fight too. You know why? Because Stephen Kubo Fulton had a lot to say after that Naoya Inoue lost. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot to say. Armando, what's up, buddy? Okay, I see it. Hold on. So uh I where was I? Okay. Yeah, I wanted to welcome that fight with Stephen Kubo Fulton because of the fact that he had a lot to say about Naoya anyway. He was one of the few fighters that really didn't want to give Naoya Inoue his respect. What he kept saying was, it was all me. It was me. I did this in there. I should have did this. He didn't really, like every other fighter, did show Naoya Inoue their respect. They described the experience, and so forth. And they were like, okay, he beat me, right? But Steven was always on the side of denial, right? So I'm like, okay, Steven, fine. If you don't want to, if you don't want to feel like he beat you, when I saw him move up to 126, beat Brandon Figueroa for his belt, that the light bulb started flashing off in my head, and I said, okay, here we go. And also, right, competitively, Stephen Kubo Fulton is one of my American guys. He fights for the U.S. team, and I say to myself, I'm always in the competitive spirit. Let's see what U.S. does against Japan, and I want to see if they live that rematch. And then he goes on to fight Lamont Roach if the people would accept that with the performance he put on against Tank. And I would like to see it. And Lamont Roach does have a real belt at 130. Like Tank doesn't have a belt at 130. Even if he came down, he wouldn't have a belt. And Naoya Inoue doesn't have a belt at 130. So I was like, damn, would he have to sacrifice his record of 24 consecutive world title fights? Because the minute he enters that ring and Tank don't got a belt, that breaks the record right there. The count stops. So Lamont Roach is legitimately the champion at 130. And then he can fight Stephen Kubo Fulton at 126, hop up to, and then here's the crazy thing when we think about Naoya Inoue's situation, right? The reality is he's a 4-division world champion. That's true. But he's passed 5 divisions from the division he actually started. By bypassing 112, just because he didn't enter 112 doesn't mean he didn't go by it. He never entered the 112, but if he goes up to 126, that's actually 6 weight divisions from the where he started from. It's technically 6. He would be entering his 5th. If he goes up to 130, that's technically 7 divisions. He would be entering, if he would be successful, he would only be getting credit for 6. But in reality, that's 7 from where he started because he bypassed 1. So is he maxed out? How much, this is exciting to think about and stuff because he's like right there. Because boxing, as we all know, has its glamour divisions. Glamour division starts from 130, 135, 140, 147, sometimes 154, and the heavyweight division of the world. Those are the glamour divisions. That's where speed and power meet at the right weights, where the guys can be still fast and powerful. And that's the most exciting weights in all of boxing. If you go too far down, all you're going to get is speed, no power. If you go too far up, all you're going to get is power, no speed and skill. Not that much. The higher you go up, the more power you get in the fights, but less skill performance. The lower you go down, you'll get all the skill, less power, less knockouts. The glamour division is where it all meets at a great weight that everybody's like looking like, you could look like Sugar Ray Leonard, you could look like Floyd. Like, that's where the best fighters in the world are. And that's why the world has been waiting for him to get near 130, where that the more of the fans, and I think he could pull the needle. Like some fighters pull the needle and make 154 a glamour division. What makes 150? Terrence Crawford's there now. He can pull the needle from 147. Fighters like that can do it. I think Naoya Inoue, and I believe he can do it. He gets close, like to 126. He's gonna. I think that's when he'll really blow up. And like mainstream everybody, like he'll be like, I know he's really big in Japan. Nobody got to sell me on that. If Naoya Inoue walked down in the middle of the street in Japan, he'll get mobbed by fans. It'll be hundreds and hundreds. It's just waves of people. No, it's not like in America, Tank Davis, Terrence Crawford. Well, Tank Davis is a pretty big star. You would think Terrence Crawford is a huge star, right? But I can guarantee you right now, today, Terrence Crawford could walk in New York City, walk down the street just like a normal person. Some people would recognize him. And after a while, he'll probably get a little crowd. Maybe, I would hope 200 people would crowd around him. That's fucking Terrence Crawford. But when you live in America, the bar is set high. So it's hard to impress Americans. It really is. What's up, Armando? Thank you for the super chat. Reminding you I am an Armando. What's up, baby Armando? Thank you for the love and the super chat. But it's hard to impress these guys. But yeah. Sony, Tank was thinking about TJ Doheny in the Naoya Inoue fight when TJ calling a timeout because of his back gave out. TJ never called a timeout because of his Mr. Miyagi. Where did TJ Doheny call timeout when his back gave out? When he said, hold on, the fight was over.
No, because he put his hand up, didn't he? He put his hand up.
Yeah, he went like this.
Yeah, and the ref didn't know. The ref didn't start counting or anything. He just walked over with his arms out like, what's going on? And then Doheny took a knee, and then the ref waved the fight off.
The ref waved the fight off because TJ Doheny gave his back to him.
Yeah. I think.
Remember when he kept just walking like that, and the ref was like, okay, and then went like that. You turned your back to me.
I think what Sonny's trying to say is that Tank was going for. He said, I think he's making a joke. I think he's trying to say that Tank thought about that moment in the TJ Doheny fight when he took the knee, because he got hit with a right body shot just before he went down. He got a right body shot and 2 jabs, and then he kind of staggered back a little bit, looked around, and then took a knee.
Wow.
And that was a clean straight in the midsection, that right body shot. It was as Tank was turning to square up.
Right. Yo, you Elvis Baby 38. I've seen a lot of fights live in the area, watching Inoue twice. You got to see Naoya Inoue twice? I'm jealous. I'm jealous. All right. Yeah, Mike Tyson described, and a lot of people describe, that's what I want to experience. the Naoya Inoue experience. I've talked about that on my channel. Um, I want to be there live. I have to see it to to want to believe it. It's not that I don't believe it. I'm just using that expression. I believe it so much that I want to be there. You know what I mean? Um, so just watching him live and seeing how fast he is rather than TV, I've experienced that. The last big fight I can say that I watched was probably Subriel Matias fight in Puerto Rico. I think that's probably the biggest fight. I was there for Liam Paro fight. I was there live. Um, and I watched that fight. I wanted to see what Subriel looked like. It was a disappointing night, but I still got to see what he looks like. Um, and It was actually a funny night, but I'm not going to bring it up. Anyway, I saw a content creator there, one of our guys. They were in the building with me in that fight, and an embarrassing moment was taking place while the fight was going on. They were checking his tickets for his seats, and they were like, "These are not your seats." And they checked his ticket. They're like, "No, these are the tickets for up there. Your seats are up there." And they took him out on that night, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Oh shit, I know that dude." And he does channels with us, but I'm gonna leave that alone. But anyway, um, yeah, that's the fight I went to go see, and I just want to go back. That on that night, that's what happened in the Subir fight, and then now I want to go and see Naoya Inoue fight. So I really want to see my man up close in person, and I want to see what all the talk is about. I could see with my own two eyes, but it must be different right there. It must be different. It has to be. You know, when you say it's amazing, I'm 63, watching boxing all my life, was on what? Wow. He hits that hard, huh? Bro, there was this kid in his last Japanese fight. He's on YouTube, another content creator. I see some of these guys at the fights. A few content creators. There was more than one there in the Subria Matias fight in Puerto Rico. There was I seen like 5, 6 content creators that I see normally like on YouTube that we talk. So there was a few of them at that fight too, in fact. So there was this one kid in Japan, like he like barricaded himself out in Japan. Um, True School Sports TV. He's got glasses.
Yeah,
Kind of looks
Shakur.
like a boxing nerd, I call him. Very educated, smart kid, but definitely a boxing nerd. And I mean that with respect. I call him a boxing nerd because he's educated. He's smart. He just got glasses, but um, please don't take that as a disrespect or anything, because my man be in the gym boxing. Don't want to run up on that nerd, right? He's probably a tough one. So, not so like he was out in Japan. They rescheduled a fight because Sam Goodman said he had a cut. His plane ticket was set for this day. All of a sudden, you see him filming. He's like in the background in houses with like unfinished houses. I wonder if he was squatting in a fucking house, right? He's like, I'm days away from the Naoya Inoue fight. Like, I'm like, I can admire his sacrifice. I can admire his passion. I can admire. A lot of guys would have just packed it up and called it quits. I'm not staying in Japan for a fucking month. Where am I gonna live? I think he muscled down and did it. And I don't know what he did, but he did it. And the way he described how Naoya Inoue's punch sound when he hit Yi Young Kim, everybody in that place don't stop talking about that sound. Even when I played on TV, it's like pow, and I'm like, shit, I can imagine what that sounds like. And that's the Naoya Inoue experience, what I talk about. I've saw some big hitters, some big punchers and stuff. I was in a room with some pretty big punchers, but I didn't see them fight. Yeah, that doesn't count. Just because I know you're a big puncher, I didn't see you fight. That doesn't count, I guess, right? that don't count. I was gonna use something, but I was like, yeah, I didn't see him fight though. But anyway, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. It. You know, I recommend for anyone that's listening right now, whatever sports guy, if you consider him to be a great or a legend or your favorite athlete, I say we only live once in this world. And if you have your chance to go see your favorite concert, your favorite fighter, basketball, football player, take it from me. Don't let your that athlete retire and you never get to see them. It's gonna bother you. It bothered me that I knew that I was an adult around the time MJ was in the NBA. And Michael Jordan's entire career went by, and I never once saw him live. Never. And there were times I could have watched him live. I could have got tickets, the Garden, the Celtics. I could have watched them. But because of the fact I was ignorant and I was young, I was a Laker. My team was Magic Johnson and Kareem. He came in at them and beat them down. I didn't want to go pay to watch you, even though I knew you were great. And later on, that bit me in my ass. I would give anything to watch that man play again, you know. And so I suggest I learned from there, and that's why like I built this channel and everything. And I thank everybody for support. Amando just dropped 10 in the super chat. Thank you. Like everything's gonna go to like me pursuing one of my passions and stuff, and that's actually seeing a lot of these guys fights, and maybe if I get an interview or two with them, I would hope, but it, I I gotta tell you, bro, if you get a chance to see your favorite one, take it from me. Save up, do yourself a favor, and go watch them. You'll be better off for it, and you can actually say, I was there on this night. I hear people when they talk about like Woodstock and stuff like that, like the older guys, right? And they're like, man, I was in Woodstock, right? These guys are old as shit. They got their little headbands and like they're dead, but you could see the smile on their face. And they talk about a memory. They talk about a moment. They talk about a moment in time. And when you see that, that's when you understand. Maybe I should go out and do some shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? What's up, baby? What you saying? Easy work for the monster. Javante better retire now because after Naoya climbs to 126, he is coming. I mean, Javante now, he's just playing with boxing guys. Tell me, was he ready, prepared to put Jake Paul in the ring Saturday night and announce that he really was going to fight Jake Paul? I think Lamont Roach just saved the world. And what Lamont Roach, if anything, Tank learned from this, maybe he wakes up. Maybe Lamont Roach will be responsible for Tank turning things around. I admit, for is at one time such a high on a rise Tank Davis was, he's still good for the sport. Even in criticism, people are still talking about him now. All over social media. Even in this kind of performance. So Tank can turn all this around. And I don't feel so bad for him. Neither. And it boils right back to the point what Mr. Miyagi said earlier in the channel. A lot of this is due in part to shit you said. The expectations you put on yourself and how much you bragged about being the best and that there was no other fighter anybody else should be paying attention to. Why? Because you were him. So you mean to tell me that that's a performance from the best? And then in the next sentence, bear with me. I had grease in my eye. Bear with me. At this, brother, you are a 20-1 underdog. There is no bearing with you. What happened was exposure. That man just exposed you on our world stage. A smaller guy, 130, moving up. Had you did this against a guy in your own weight division, 135, we can honestly say, give Tank a break, bro. Anybody can have a bad night in the office. You weren't supposed to have a catastrophe. That's not what happened on that night. You brought a little guy up to look good and got whooped. And the judges had to save your record. Because St. Davis could be waking up today undefeated. What he should take out of this fight is that he doesn't have a loss on his record. That he didn't get that scored as a knockdown. That Tank Davis' star status really fucking came to bat for him.
Well, his fans are already trying to defend it.
Oh, they were already trying to defend it. And listen, they Tank gotta he's got to answer for this, but I don't think the correct answer is fighting Lamont Roach on a rematch. I feel you owe nothing to Lamont Roach. You do not fight at 130, Tank. Your obligation is at 135. There were people waiting to fight you before this fight, and this fight should not affect us stalling again to give us the fights that we want. We want to see you fight Loma. We want to see you fight Shakur. I'm in agreement. I would like to see him fight Lamont Roach, just not right now. Do that after you take care of some business that you needed to answer to. He just has a lot of unfinished business at 135 that we feel like going backwards to this Lamont Roach fight that we never wanted to see. So it was entertaining, yes. It was. I love the fight. I just think that he should be responsible to 135 now. That's my honest opinion. I don't think you owe Lamont anything. And I'd rather see him fight Shakur or Loma, to tell you the truth.
Going back to your point earlier, Edwin,
Mm-hmm.
you were saying that the fans were already lining up Lamont Roach for Shakur. If Tank fought Shakur, Shakur is a better defensive fighter, and he's a really good counter puncher, but obviously he's got the hand issues, doesn't he? So he doesn't really turn his shots in like he should. But I still think Tank would walk through Shakur because he doesn't have. I feel like Lamont Roach, again, I'll go back to, they had the two fights in the amateurs, and I think Lamont Roach just knows the tails of Gervonta Davis. You won't see that with any other fighter. I could be
Right.
wrong, and Shakur because I do think Shakur is a much better defensive fighter and a better counter puncher than Lamont Roach, but Lamont doesn't have the hand issues.
Mm.
Is
So you
Shakur
really
going to
think that
hit?
Lamont Roach could sit down on his punches a lot more to deter Tank from coming in? And although Shakur is fast, it would be like peppering him, and then Tank's gonna go right through his defense. You think?
I don't think he'll go through him because I don't think he'll just walk through him, but he's not going to have the same respect like he had
Right,
for Lamont
right.
Roach. Because after the fight, even Tank was saying Lamont hits hard, which his record doesn't show. But the thing is, if you're comfortable fighting someone, you're not too worried. You can sit down on your punches a bit more.
Right,
Like,
right. And the familiarity too is what you speak of too. You're right about that too. I talked about that. Like you won't see that against Tank. I think that he was more familiar, would be more familiar with him than Shakur would be.
yeah, I still, I could be wrong, and Shakur just,
No, no. I mean,
shoulder rolled them
we're
shots.
all making educated guesses here. I can't say I could be more right than you, but you know, but I could see exactly what you're saying, and yeah, I can agree to that too. You know, it could there's a lot of different ways this can play out, and I really mean this that. Although I've seen Tank a better versions of Tank Davis. I don't know what he's going on, but now and then you have to always remind yourself you have to add the human element to all of this. Human error, meaning I honestly don't know how hard Tank trained for this fight. If he was distracted, if Lamont was in there killing himself every day, he knew that this was a big moment for him. Sometimes humans can let you down. And sometimes you can be a genius in something and you have that one moment or that one day that you could have been working here for 20 years. And just, I don't know why it happens. It happens to me sometimes. I just forget what the fuck I'm doing. I'm in a video game or I'm doing something. At some moment, I drift off. I'm like that little kid in the baseball field in Little League. And you look out to left field and you see the kid throwing his glove in the air, spinning his hat. That's me. At some point, I lose focus. And I'm not sure if that happened with Tank. So what if he lost focus? I don't know. What's up? Inoue is in no man's land. Well, Naoya Inoue is not in no man's land. I wouldn't say that. He has a lot of options. He just needs to take some of the options. He's in no man's land to the point where that in 122, he's running out of opponents. But Naoya Inoue can wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to 126. And a brand new set of division and all options, opportunities will arise. And one snap of he'll have so many different options. And when you got guys as far as Ryan Garcia hinting he would fight Naoya Inoue, we all knew that was cap. But if guys from all the way up there are giving you recognition and like jokingly calling you out, you're obviously making waves. So Naoya Inoue, as far as options, he has a lot of options. He doesn't have a lot of willing opponents, like people that are signing up to want to fight him. Like, for instance, David Allen Picasso. We just saw that in real time 3 days ago. David Allen Picasso's father took the hit for his son. He like stood in front of his son with a bulletproof vest and took all the bullets. He blatantly said, listen, my son's not ready for Naoya Inoue. In a nutshell, he's not ready. I know what you're doing, Turkey. You're offering my son all this money to fight Naoya Inoue because you want a Mexican fighter in Cinco de Mayo weekend, and you're going to promote Naoya Inoue in the United States. What better fighter can you put him up against a Mexican fighter on Mexican Independent Weekend? Brilliant. And they offered him 3-4 times the money he would have ever made in his life. And David Picasso's father said, sometimes the money and the belts are just not worth it for the damage my son would take against Naoya Inoue. Sometimes you got to think about how your fighter's going to come out of that ring. As we seen in Fajardo, Puerto Rico just the other night, when a lot of people were starting to say they should have stopped that fight against Subriel Matias and Gabriel. And how much did that take off of his life, that beating? You could damage your fighter. That fighter that beating Caleb Plant took against David the Monster Benavidez. He wanted to go out on his shield. They let him finish. They gave him one more round. But at what price? At what price? For all these punches you take, at some point you're going to pay for that. Alan David Picasso's father said, not for that kind of beating.
I've got, I've got a problem with that, though, because
Huh?
I've got a problem with that. With Can you hear me all right? I feel like I'm muffled or something.
You feel that what?
Yeah. Am I breaking up?
A little right there, but not now. Now you spoke real clear right there.
How about now?
Right there. Go ahead. Good.
Yeah, I don't. How can you? Again, you're boxing. For David Allen Picasso. Yeah, you're number one for the WBC. There's no other champions. And after his dad said he's turned down the fight, they say they want to keep his number one ranked thing because they don't want to go against such a strong champion. But I'm in half the mindset. You put him in there for a training camp, give him a couple of rounds to see what happens. If you feel like he's not going to win, throw the towel in.
And then
At
take
least he got in the ring.
money.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
He's going to get paid. David Allen Picasso is going to get paid at least $2 million. At least $2 million.
At least.
Yeah, for that fight. And they don't have to take the arse kicking because they can always throw in the towel. I don't understand. Really, I don't understand. Think you're number one in the sanctioning body.
Yeah. But that's how you think. You think about the chance, the glory, and some other people think, protect the O. No, we got to stay undefeated. No, we can't take a chance. We've seen a lot of that happen in this era. No, I can't afford a loss. I can't. No, my son will be champion when he leaves the division because I don't want him fighting that strong of a champion.
Yeah, but they're also forgetting who's right below at 118. If Inoue moves up, who's coming up?
Baby Godzilla. The baby Godzilla
is going to come up.
Junto, the baby Godzilla.
Man, you know what? They turned down the Inoue payday fight, and I could see it. Inoue will move up, Picasso will grab a belt, and then Junto will come straight up. And because Junto likes the WBC, and the WBC really fuck with Junto, he might just get a shot as soon as he moves up and take that belt.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Go ahead, finish your thought.
And Junto, I do think Inoue is a big puncher, but I do think Junto is a spiteful fighter, the way he finishes opponents. Where Inoue is he can be spiteful at times, but he's very clinical. He's like with the Stephen Coolboy Fulton fight.
Yeah.
He knows, right, I can put you down. I don't need to damage you.
Right.
But I'm going to put you down or even knock you out.
Right.
Except for the Lewis Neri fight where he was just brutalizing that man for those 5 rounds.
Mm-hmm. And when he got vicious, when he knocked out Yi Jung Kim, and I think that's due in part to what Yi Jung Kim was running his mouth before the fight, talking about he's walking off with Naoya's belt. When Naoya hit him, he turned and gave him that look. I talked about it. He gave him that look like, if he dies, he dies.
It's the look he gave Lewis Neri. If you watch that fight after he knocked Lewis Neri out, the same look over the shoulder, just staring at him, just no emotion on his face, just dead-eyed. Yeah, you're out now.
Not only was he kicking his ass because he came in there and beat their former champion and got himself exiled from Japan, Luis Nari, but he knocked him down and had him a little embarrassed in the fight. And when he put him down, he gave him that look like, man, you deserve that right there. But when he hit Stephen Kubo Fulton, although Stephen Kubo Fulton's coach disrespected Japan's hero by going on a world stage in a press conference in Japan and basically calling Japan's hero a cheater. Oh, he's only that good because of loaded hand wraps. So Naoya Inoue obliged them, wrapped their hands the way Fulton's team wanted him to wrap his hand. He went out there and knocked them out. Although he was angry with the accusation, he knew their accusation really didn't define him. You see, Naoya knew that. So when he outschooled Stephen Kubo Fulton for 7 rounds, when he finally went on the attack, that he hit him with that shot that he knocked him right almost out of the ropes the first time he knocked him down, you can see that Naoya Inoue let off on the punch. When you go back and you watch it, although it looks brutal, it looks bad. He hits him like that. Then he runs. Naoya, Stephen Kubo Fulton's going backwards, and Naoya Inoue, Stephen Fulton's glove touched the canvas. In fact, and then Naoya Inoue runs upon him and he hits him. Boom! Although it looks violent in nature, I saw in that moment the compassion that Naoya Inoue has and the mercy that he'll have on his opponent. He doesn't have to damage you to beat you. If he really wanted to hurt Stephen Kubo Fulton, he would have threw the punch and the punch would have went through his face and his hand would have landed going towards the crowd.
Mate, he would have been sleeping.
He would have shattered his jaw, bro. If he would have followed through in that punch, I'm telling you, the momentum in his punch should have been going towards the crowd like it did against Luis Pantera Lari, like it did against Yi Jung Kim. His punch went straight. When you see him hit, when you saw him hit Kubo Stephen Fulton, he retracts his hand. His hand goes backwards, meaning he would have to pull back his hand. He hit him enough to drop him, and then he pulls off and almost stumbles over him.
I think Inoue was clairvoyant in that moment. He knew if he had truly slept Fulton in that moment, he wouldn't have gone on to win a belt at 126.
Right. Right.
He was like, "Oh, I'm going to hit you just enough so you can still win a belt one weight division up.
And then I'll see you up there, and I'll take that one away from you too." And hopefully, you know what I was praying for a little, that Stephen Kubo Fulton went up there and unified the titles against Angelo Leo. That him and Angelo Leo get into a fight because Angelo Leo and Stephen Fulton fought once upon a time and he beat him. So now that they got 2 belts and they're both champions, they can relive that fight. Now, whoever wins, whether Leo wins, whether Stephen Kubo Fulton wins, now you guys are unified. You let him go collect the belts and do. When Naoya gets up there, you did half his work for him. Now he only has to knock out Stephen Kubo Fulton. Let me get both of them belts, and he can just maybe get that closer. But the powers that be, someone's gonna play keep away with one of those belts. Hopefully the boxing gods prove me wrong and they allow him to do it. I don't know, but yeah, man, absolutely. Okay, let me read some of these chats. Are you saying yeah? I'm listening. You're right, but Naoya will fight twice, and then Junto will come up and wait. Everybody's waiting for that Junto fight. But let me read you something. I can't find it right now. Sorry, it might take me a little while. But if you guys have a time, Ringside Magazine, I subscribe to Ringside Magazine and shit with Turkey. There was a gentleman that wrote an article in there about Junto Nakatomi's coach, right? Rudy Hernandez, right? That's his coach. And they were interviewing him, and Junto Nakatomi's coach was honest in the interview. He said, not only does he have Naoya Inoue slightly the favor, whether if he and Nakatomi were to fight each other, he said he will give Naoya the slighter edge because he's going to respect him as the bigger champion because they would be moving up in weight from 118 to 122. So he would only give Naoya Inoue that much of an edge. He believes in his fighter, Junto Nakatoni, but he acknowledged they have work to do. They have a lot of work to do. He doesn't think that Junto Nakatani is on Naoya Inoue's level just yet. And he said he doesn't talk about fantasy fights. He says when they get to that part in the road, we'll deal with that when we deal with it. When we're in front of Naoya Inoue now. He says, and I know on that day, I'm going to have a lot of work to do. He said it in the interview. Juncho's coach, who is speaking honestly, he said it. He said, Junto's great. He's good. He's everything. He said, when I saw Naoya Inoue for the first time, I knew he was special. He's not going to get Junto caught up or he stepped in front of everything, the coach. It's like, don't distract my fighter with these possibilities of Naoya Inoue fights or try to get him to say that he's better than Naoya Inoue. I'm going to come out and publicly say it right now. My fighter's staying at 118, and he's looking to unify at 118. He ain't moving up to fight Naoya Inoue no time soon. And he's trying to let that to know to Bob Arum and his team, because Bob Arum and the Saudi Prince keep pushing for that Junto fight because the world wants to see it. And Junto got the height in there. I don't think he'll have any problem moving up to 122, to be honest. I think he'll move up. He's one of the few fighters that I think that one weight jump because of his stature and his height and everything. He's so big for the 118. I don't think he would have a problem making 122. But his coach Rudy wants him to get better and everything, a little bit better and so forth and so forth. But that Japanese dude is nasty. Junto, he's freaking good. And doing part to a fighter like Naoya Inoue, giving him that recognition and stuff. Junto had to do the rest himself because, Naoya can bring the cameras and the light. You got to do the rest. So Junto has been doing the rest. I think it's an intriguing fight. But and then there's even one even a step further. There's even one there a step further. What about Bam Bam Rodriguez?
No one wants to mention that.
And that little Mexican dude is something else. He can cut angles like nobody's business. He's really crafty, great jab, good footwork. I think he's got some of the best footwork down there. And in those lower weight divisions. I like his footwork over Junto's. I even like his footwork over Naoya's. Naoya got smart feet. What Naoya does really well, he's never out of position. His feet are smart. His upper body and lower body moves as one. He doesn't burn unnecessary energy. Where that Bam Bam's footwork is going to look sharp and accurate because he's actually using it. He's actually showing you what he can do. He's cutting corners. He's doing that. That's just like saying, Michael Jordan, you can't shoot three-pointers. And then he goes out there and shoots your eyes out from three. And he turns around and says, well, I never shot the three because I didn't have to. It doesn't mean I can't shoot the three. Well, maybe they say Naoya Inoue can't do that. And I'm on the line. Well, maybe because he hasn't had to doesn't mean he can't do it.
Edwin, I think Junto's shown a lot of vulnerability, and there's a few areas that I see he needs to improve on. Like you said, we were just saying about footwork. I was watching Junto's got good footwork, and he can what's the word? When he's on the inside, he can cut that angle, but I do feel like he's quite cumbersome. So when you're fighting someone like a Bam Rodriguez or Inoue, even though Inoue hasn't shown it for a long time, he can actually move. If you watch how Bam Rodriguez cuts the angle to get the body shot in on Estrada, Inoue has done that in other fights, but he just doesn't usually show it because he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to.
No.
Right.
And the thing that impressed me when I first started watching Inoue, I first watched him in the World Boxing Super Series against Emmanuel Rodriguez. But then after I saw that fight live on the TV, I then went back on his older fights. What impressed me was like what you were saying, the way he always keeps the perfect distance. His footwork is not incredibly flashy like a Lomachenko,
Right.
but it's so refined. Like his basic fundamentals are so refined to the point
Right.
that you don't see it. You don't see a fighter that is that refined in the fundamentals, just the
Mm-hmm.
fundamental footwork, and it makes it look absolutely incredible. And I
Right.
find if Junto and Inoue fought, if Inoue can slip the straight punches, because I see Junto miss a lot with people
Mm-hmm.
that are fast upper body movement, and I've seen Inoue that there's so many things that you see Inoue do that he just doesn't show, and
Right.
specifically against especially southpaws that he's been fighting. And I'm getting a bit tired of seeing Inoue in there with southpaws because I can't wait when he fights an orthodox fighter. I think this fight in Las Vegas is Ramon Cardenas. He's an orthodox, or is he another southpaw? I can't. I'm just trying to think where I watched his last fight.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Uh,
Cardenas?
yeah, Cardenas.
Cardenas?
That's who Inoue's supposed to be fighting next, isn't it?
No. Yeah.
Ramon Cardenas.
Ramon Cardenas. Yes, that's exactly who's gonna fight next. Yes. Yes.
He's a
I started
he,
thinking of another fighter.
he's an orthodox fighter, isn't he?
Ramon Cardenas is orthodox fighter.
Oh my god,
Uh
Inoue is just gonna.
he fights he fought in his last fights. He fought until he came in the fight with Yi Young Kim. I think he fought 3 consecutive left-handed fighters in a row, if
And
I'm not
what?
mistaken.
Three, three of those four left-handed fighters have been awkward as hell.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just can't when Inoue gets in there because
When he gets
I
in with a
watched.
boxer, it's over.
Oh my god, I think Inoue has just been waiting. That Sam Goodman fight would have been brutal.
Perfect. Tailor
Classic
made.
Naoya Inoue. He would have shown his head movement, his upper body movement, his catch and counter skill. He would have shown everything, cutting angles, and he would have just devastated Sam Goodman. But he couldn't do that because then Sam Goodman had to pull out, and even Yi Jun Kim didn't want to fight him because Yi Jun Kim is a switch hitter. He can fight in orthodox as well, but he came out in southpaw, which is what I was really annoyed at when I watched that fight.
Right.
I just want to see him in there with a right-handed fighter again because it's been a while since Stephen Coolboy's fight.
Right. No. Yeah. Yeah. And you just. I was gonna use that. When he fights against boxers like Stephen Kubo Fulton and Emmanuel Rodriguez, and my man was telling me right now he was there for the Emmanuel Rodriguez fight, and he heard the sound of it, of the punches and stuff. Emmanuel Rodriguez came into that fight 19-0. He was undefeated. Tough Puerto Rican fighters, never been knocked down or knocked out in his career. Naoya Inoue, the the what makes Naoya Inoue special for me, right, is I gotta be honest, right? I've watched a lot of fighting in my day. I've done a couple. I've been in one or two fights myself, and Naoya Inoue does things in a fight I didn't think were possible of doing, or not that I didn't think possible. I never thought about doing them. Meaning, um, when Lamont Roach was throwing punches at Tank Davis, what Tank Davis was doing was the traditional thing you're taught to do: cover up, right? If you see a punch, if he fakes, you cover, right? Okay. Now, when Naoya Inoue started reading fighters such as Jason Maloney, uh, when Jason Maloney threw the fake and Nonito Donaire went to throw a fake at him, Naoya Inoue did something in boxing I've never thought about. don't react to the fake. There's a there's a split second in between times that men use this to timing to knocking you out. What happens is this in a sequence. When I throw a punch at you, if you go like this and my punch hits the glove, by time you open up your hand or go to throw a punch, that's where my punch is trying to come in and get you in that moment, typically. So we're taught not to open up so fast until you can see what you're doing, right? Because if you just get hit and then go to open up like a rookie, you're going to get knocked down. That's why usually people will stay on the guard getting hit twice, 3 times, because they're not coming out of it fast because they're waiting for, because they know you're going to counter them. Okay. When Naoya Inoue shaved out of boxing was when he threw the punch, Naoya never did this. He never reacted to it. Instead of that, he allowed the punch to come and he knew it was a fake. So at some point, you're going to back out in this punch. What he did was he met you with yours. While you were bringing yours back, he was already bringing his forward. When Emmanuel Rodriguez was in close with Naoya Inoue and he was in that sequence, Emmanuel Rodriguez felt safe. You got to understand, as fighters, typically sometimes we know where we're standing. I know where I'm standing if you can hit me from here. Basically, I could tell you, you might have a variation of where you can go with your punch, up, down, my shoulder, but I'm going to be right. You only got 2 hands. You have to understand that in that situation, Emmanuel Rodriguez felt safe. When he went to throw that shot, Naoya Inoue just clipped him. He wasn't, Naoya wasn't supposed to do that. He was supposed to react to my punch. And he just went boom. And I was like, what the fuck did he do? So I rewinded it. And I was like, how did he catch up to him like that? And I rewinded and I was like, and when he knocked out Jason Maloney, Maloney went like this. He went to go to throw a 2-piece, but this one was a fake. He went and was going to shift his body. By time he went and went like this, he was knocked out on the floor. You go look at Naoya Inoue. He doesn't blink. He didn't react. That's 1/10 of a second that it takes you to go like this to come out of it to throw your punch. Rather than you going like this and then throwing, that's 1/10 of a second. He shaved that off boxing. He didn't, no react, just straight forward. And he met him there. And I was like, you can do that?
That was violent.
I was like, you could do that? I was like, why didn't I think of that? Like, and I'm a guy, I study fighters, bro. When he started doing shit that I was like, wow, like all my life I've been taught this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. I've always seen fights play out like this, and this. What he's doing, he's changing the game a little. And these guys are coaches, are trading their fighters, and he's using what they're good at against them. He knows you're supposed to train and do that. He knows I was supposed to hit you, you're supposed to ball, and then throw it. He knew that. He used that against you. He used your training, what you were taught to do, to beat you. And I once I started viewing him, like, I was like, I'm looking at this guy and I'm just saying to myself, and then I know, like, sometimes I really want to get in depth with it, but and then I'm like, I'm going to lose some people, right? Because I understand what it was like not having boxing gargles on. When I first came into boxing, I thought I was just a fighter. I knew everything about boxing, bro. I was a little kid. I know how to fight. Just put the gloves on me. I'm going to go over there and beat him. And then you realize fighting is much more. You know, you learn how to beat a bigger guy, a guy with power. You know how to outsmart it. You don't get scared anymore in the situations. You don't overthink. You don't think for him. You learn that when you hit a guy, you don't give up on yourself because you say this, damn, I couldn't hurt him. No, you convince yourself to say, well, then I got one more right here for you. You don't think for him. And then you start to learn after you get past that phase, that's when you really get to the true phase of boxing where you see the dance, the way it's performed. It's typically you move this way, I got this way, like that. If you're not responding, get them to move this way. You're here to assist me in whooping your ass. That's what boxing is. The art to hit without being hit. We're having a waltz, we're dancing, and you're here to assist me on whooping your ass. If I want you to go this way, you go that way. I set you up this way. That's when boxing starts to fall down and lay down to you. Then you start fighting like guys that walk up on you in the street and you feel guilty because you know they're at a disadvantage. And then you start to look at them like once upon a time that was you. You see this kid, tough kid trying to be tough. I don't really want to hurt him, but I already know he's in over his head. He's going to make a move. I'm going to listen, I'm going to slip, hit him to the, before he knows it, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. But I was that kid one time. And until I started seeing boxing in a different light, that I started really seeing skilled fighters. Sometimes I don't like to get into details. I'm like, people ain't going to understand what I'm talking about, and I don't want to lose anybody's attention by going down that road. But Naoya Inoue, he fights. He's a unique fighter. That's all I can say. He's a unique fighter without trying to get all crazy boxing detail. He's a very unique fighter, and I watch him for a reason. And I consider him among the elite fighters we have today. And when you look at other fighters, try not to view all other fighters in comparison to Naoya Inoue, because it'll never let you see the beauty in their fighting style. Although Naoya Inoue and Terence Crawford don't look nothing alike, make no mistake, Terence Crawford's an elite fighter. He has his own different style, but if you keep comparing Naoya Inoue and everything he does in comparison to them, you'll never see any other fighter. You have to let yourself grow as in mind. You don't have to go outside and beat people up, but you'll know what's happening. And you see Caleb Plant, Saul Canelo Alvarez, any fighters in the world. I can't compare him to Naoya Inoue because I'll never see Caleb Plant's style. So that's how I do it individually, and what guys do very well, what guys do very good, who's moving good, and so forth and so forth. I just believe that, Usyk is probably the greatest heavyweight we have right now. I'll give him that. Terence Crawford, was one of the greatest fighters in his weight division. I'll give him that. And for the lower weight division, I'll give Naoya Inoue the title as the monster. And those weight divisions down there, I believe there's room in boxing for more than one king. I think Saul's doing his thing. Other men and women are doing their thing. But as a fighter, you're only responsible for your division. And Naoya Inoue has made it clear, crystal clear, there is only one king in my division. And if you want to talk about a time or boxing working back to an era where there was only one belt, well, you're looking at it right now in real time, because you could basically say Naoya Inoue only has one belt. All four of them add up to one, because you got to be one guy just to get one out of them. So in real time, he's legitimately made one belt in the sport of boxing, and he's telling everybody in the division, come with it. Come on. I take all smoke. I accept it all. And he beat everybody. So now we, as the fans, where we're at right now, we're like this. We're like, what does he do now? And Some of us are like, yeah, go up to 126 because those are the guys that are just meeting him. They don't know the road he traveled. These are the fans that are just coming to meet Naoya Inoue now. And they're remotely familiar with a little bit of his success. Why can't he move up to 126? He already beat everybody at 122. And then me and you, we know, wait a minute. Didn't he come up from 108 pounds? I can't remember the last time I weighed 108 pounds, right? Didn't he come up 100 from 108? Like, we are asking a lot from this young man, Naoya Inoue. But if anybody can do it, damn it, he's got the skills, man. And everybody, this is a good time for Bob Arum and them to really showcase Naoya Inoue May. If Tank Davis's last performance was that, the face of boxing, right? if it was that, man, Naoya, you could come in and really capture some fans here. And I'm just behind Naoya Inoue, and as you can see, like, it's not because he's my national Puerto Rican, I love fighting, man, and that has nothing to do with it. So I'm always gonna back great fighters, and I think that he's amazing. So I back him because I believe in him as a fighter. I really do. I believe in Naoya Inoue as a fighter in and out of the ring, and I can't say anything else. I just think he's just really good for the sport. But that's just a monster fight. And it would be, Tank Davis and Naoya Inoue. If Tank Davis wants to play around with boxing and entertain a fight with Jake Paul, or then entertain a fight with Naoya Inoue, a real boxer. And a real fighting match we would actually really want to see. That I think that would eclipse Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford as far as one of like the biggest fights. Like, Wilder Fury was pretty big in my mind when I think back to it. Wilder Fury was pretty big. Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., I remember that being 5-6 years too late, but when it finally kicked off, I was excited. What took place, I was shocked. I didn't see him whooping his ass that bad. I saw him whooping his ass, but not that bad. So what I saw, I was shocked, yes, but it was big. The event was fucking big. Saul's always, and it's hard to fuck with AJ and them for Naoya Inoue. Once you start packing 90,000 in Wembley Stadium, not a lot of fighters have ever done that. So you can't fuck with AJ. But yeah, man. I think yeah, go ahead.
I feel like because I'm from the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like there's a lot of fighters. Stadium fights are just like a normal thing out here.
Mm-hmm.
That 90,000 was impressive with AJ Dubois, but it's not like you got Derek Chisora, boxing in stadiums and like smaller stadiums. It's quite annoying because we don't have like necessarily arenas like in America where you've got like T-Mobile. We do have a few, like they'll fight at the O2,
Right.
stuff like that. But we don't nothing like the US. Like you got Madison Square Garden, you got
Las
T-Mobile
Vegas.
Arena, MGM.
Yeah.
You got all these places.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a normal thing for a fight to be like a decent sized fight to be held in a football stadium because we just got loads in this country, and they're not used for a lot of the year when it's out of season. There's a lot of space to put events in.
Yep. Well, I'm about to start wrapping this up right here. Mr. Miyagi, I don't even know what time I got on. How long have I been on here? 3 hours?
Yeah.
Shit.
2 hours 45 minutes.
Oh, I think that's pretty good right now for all the boxing.
Yeah.
But Mr. Miyagi, man, it's always been a pleasure. Thank you for coming in, talking, breaking down these fights, sharing your insight on these fights. It's a fantasy. It would be a huge fight if we got Naoya Inoue and Tank in the future to fight. Maybe on the tail end of their careers, even when they all feel like they did enough in boxing, and maybe they would be ready to meet at some kind of catch weight or something, not necessarily for a belt. I could see that happening when Naoya feels he's done enough. If it was for one, I would think it would be for somebody's belt, so somebody would have to get one. But listen, I'm from where? What? Wales in the UK. Joe, what? Gonzaga. Don't bring up Joe Gonzaga, bro. Every time somebody gotta bring up Joe Gonzaga, bro. No, listen. Real talk. You guys got a good one in him. And so what? What criticism comes in boxing? Everybody that they criticize Joe Gonzaga fighting against, you can criticize their record too as well. So if he got there fair and square and he accomplished that, well, then you can't take that away from that man. Listen, this is Edwin here at Round One Sports Talk. I'm thankful for all of you guys tuning in here. Thank you for giving me all your feedback, all your contribution, Mr. Miyagi. Thank you for stopping by. It's always a pleasure. And you guys take care of yourselves. And I'll see you on the next one. Well, I'm back with the next one after this one here at Round One Sports Talk. I am tired. I am exhausted. I can't even talk no more. I'm just coming out from eating dinner too. Well, we had a little lunch at the time that I came home. Now I'm going to actually go eat dinner. So anyway, listen.